Chapter 1141. The Purple Elephant Emperor and the Dragon Rhinoceros Emperor sneered. How could their master be met so easily? However, just as they were about to refuse, they suddenly saw a figure flying over from not far away and landing in front of them. It was none other than Su. "I'm here. What do you want to talk about?" After Su landed, he glanced at the situation of these people, then stared at Luo Jing and asked directly. On his shoulder, Su Xiaoshui stood quietly and looked around. Luo Jing's body tensed up under such a gaze. He remembered very clearly that during the Alliance Conference's preliminaries, it was this young man who killed 20 people from the Gimdeo sect and the 7-Star Sword School consecutively. His methods were shocking. Furthermore, there were even more legends that added even more ferocity to this young man's appearance. Sect leader Su. After a while, Luo Jing calmed himself down. He cupped his hands and said, "I want to talk to you about the primordial stone mine." Cold sweat seeped from Luo Jing's forehead. He felt a lot of pressure as he spoke. This was very strange. In front of a young man in the Origin Void Realm, he should not be acting like this. Let's put the primordial stone mine aside. You hurt my people. Let's talk about this first. He said in a low voice without moving his gaze. The Purple Elephant Emperor had already told him about the Dragon Rhinoceros Emperor's poisoning through telepathy. This made Su Yi's heart sink. In fact, he had long discovered that there were cultivators here, but he didn't expect that even the Purple Elephant Emperor and the Dragon Rhinoceros Emperor couldn't suppress them immediately. That was why he came out now and even brought young Marshal Su along. Luo Jing was stunned at first, then turned his head and signaled to Golden Spider. Immediately, Golden Spider flipped his wrist and took out a small porcelain bottle from his space bag. He handed it to Luo Jing with a sullen face. Sect leader Su, this is the antidote for the innate demon poison. The poison in his body is naturally not a problem, Luo Jing said, but he did not throw the porcelain bottle to Su Yi or the Dragon Rhinoceros Emperor. He only said indifferently, "I would like to sincerely discuss something with Sect Master Su. I hope you will consider it." Su Yi looked at his actions and did not reply. However, his eyes were filled with boundless coldness. Luo Jing once again paused for a moment. When he saw that Su Yi had kept his mouth shut, he continued, "We have discovered this mine a long time ago. I believe that Sect leader Su is also aware that there are large amounts of yuan stones here. Furthermore, they are of very high quality. Once they were all extracted, it would be an unimaginable harvest. These origin stones are very important to my Heavenly Spider sect, and I don't want to lose them. However, since the Bawang sect has also discovered the mineral deposits here, my Heavenly Spider sect naturally has no reason to chase you away. How about this? Let's mine together, work together, and split the primeval stones equally. What does Sect Master Su think?" When he said this, Luo Jing's heart was pained. Such an important mine originally belonged to his Heavenly Spider sect, but now he had to split it equally with the Bawang sect. How could he not feel heartache? However, there was no other way. The Heavenly Spider sect was declining and would not be a match for the Bawang sect. If he did not back down and insisted on challenging them, it was very likely that he would end up like the Gimdeo sect and the 7-Star Sword School. Therefore, even if he lost half of his origin stones, he could only endure it. He could even say that the Bawang sect wanted to use their power to oppress him. He had to agree, even if he had to give up a few more portions. "What did you say? Mine together? Split it equally between our two sects?" Su Yi suddenly laughed. He looked at Luo Jing playfully and said coldly, "Are you trying to use the antidote in your hand to threaten me and negotiate with me like this? Don't you think this is a little whimsical?" Su Yi was really laughing because he felt that Luo Jing was playing a huge joke on him. Asking the Bawang sect to give up half of an origin stone mine was more serious than cutting Su Yi's flesh with a knife. How could he agree? Su Yi was still planning to use the origin stones in this mine to pay off the debt of the Spirit Treasures Pavilion and allow the Bawang sect to quickly expand. Split the origin stones equally with the Heavenly Spider sect? That was something that he absolutely could not agree to. He would never agree to it, even if he put a knife to Su Yi's neck. Besides, why should he? Sectmaster Su, you've misunderstood. Luo Jing saw that the situation was not right and immediately said, I'm sincerely discussing with you. After all, who would want such an origin stone mine? Since my Heavenly Spider sect and the Bawang sect have both discovered this place and sent people over in order to avoid disputes, we might as well work together to avoid being targeted by other forces. Being targeted by other forces is also my Bawang sect's business. Su Yi glanced at Luo Jing indifferently and said, Stop talking nonsense. I won't give up a single origin stone in the mine to the Heavenly Spider sect. If you feel indignant, then make a move and let your strength speak for itself. As he spoke, Su Yi's Origin Supreme technique automatically activated. His aura surged, and he looked like he was going to make a move if there was a disagreement. Su Yi had this confidence. With the Bawang sect's current strength, they did not need to act according to the Heavenly Spider sect's wishes. Moreover, he did not plan to let Luo Jing and Golden Spider off. If his elder brother, Merciless West, was not busy setting up the illusionary spirit world, Su Yi would not dawdle here for so long. He would definitely take down these 3 people directly. Sectmaster Su, you have to think thrice. Luo Jing suddenly clenched his teeth, and hatred surged in his eyes. He said coldly, I know my place. I know that the Heavenly Spider sect is no match for the Bawang sect. However, if the specific information about this mine is leaked out, even the second-rate forces will be alarmed. Sectmaster Su, you have to think carefully. When Su Yi heard this, his eyes immediately narrowed. His entire body's origin chi instantly surged. Vast and majestic origin chi surged, accompanied by a vast pressure that descended in the void. Whoosh! The origin chi surged like a tide. Luo Jing, Golden Spider, and Elder Mu all unconsciously took half a step back under this pressure. They were extremely surprised. How could a young man at the Origin Void Realm have such a terrifying power? Are you threatening me? Su Yi slowly took a step forward in the void and faced Luo Jing directly. The other party's intention was very clear. It was obvious that he wanted to use the information about the mine to threaten Su Yi and force him to agree. I'm not threatening you. It's just that the Heavenly Spider sect has a share in this mine. If I can't get my share, then I'll consider asking someone else to help us ask for it. At this time, they had already shed all pretense of cordiality. Luo Jing also looked coldly at Su Yi and said, the Bawang sect was very strong and had indeed repelled the Heavenly Dipper sect. However, many people knew that the main credit for that battle was the Phantom Spirit World. Moreover, the most powerful expert of the Heavenly Dipper sect did not participate. Otherwise, how could the Bawang sect withstand the full force of a second-rate force? The mine in front of them had the charm to attract a certain second-rate force to fight over it. No matter how strong the Bawang sect was, it was no different from a fool's dream to fight for a mine with a second-rate force. The foundation of those large forces was not something the Bawang sect could compare to. Is that so? Su Yi sneered. He looked at Luo Jing and said coldly, Do you think the 3 of you can still leave this place today? As he spoke, the Purple Elephant Emperor and the Dragon Rhinoceros Emperor once again charged towards Luo Jing and the other 2. Su Xiaoshui also flapped his wings and flew up. He stared at Elder Mu and was ready to suppress him. You can't stop us with just a few of you. Luo Jing's face darkened. Things had already developed to this stage, and he had no way out. It was impossible to give up the mine. The temptation was too great. However, it was also difficult to fight the Bawang sect head-on. Therefore, Luo Jing had already planned his escape route from the moment he made up his mind. Take them down. Su Yi did not waste any more time. With a wave of his arm, the Dragon Rhinoceros Emperor and the Purple Elephant Emperor immediately rushed out. They were filled with killing intent and swept towards Golden Spider and Luo Jing respectively. Go! Luo Jing shouted. Without any hesitation, he immediately flew into the distance with Golden Spider and the Purple Elephant Emperor. He had no intention of fighting. PV at the side, Elder Mu was about to follow and quickly leave this place. But suddenly, A blazing flame swept over with a swish. It released an extremely terrifying high temperature, and it instantly blocked his path of retreat. "Where can you run to in front of me?" Su Xiaoshui flapped his wings lightly and said in a deep voice. Seeing that Elder Mu was about to retaliate, Su Xiaoshui flapped his wings again. A large expanse of raging flames rolled out and enveloped Elder Mu. In front of the current Su Xiaoshui, a martial artist at the third level of the Origin Emperor realm could not even escape. In an instant, Su Xiaoshui cast a series of restrictions on Elder Mu's body, rendering him unable to move. At this moment, Luo Jing and Golden Spider had already rushed far away. They turned back and saw Elder Mu's situation, but they could not turn back to rescue him. This was because the Purple Elephant Emperor and the Dragon Rhinoceros Emperor had already caught up. If they did not leave now, they would be in trouble when the sole controller at the 7th level of the Origin Emperor realm from the Bawang sect arrived. "There's no need to chase." Su Yi transmitted his voice to stop the Purple Elephant Emperor and the Dragon Rhinoceros Emperor from continuing their pursuit. "Boss, won't it be bad if we let them go?" After capturing Elder Mu, Su Xiaoshui landed on Su Yi's shoulder again and asked, "What's there to be afraid of? By the time they find a second-rate force to back them up, Big Brother will have almost finished setting up the Mystic Gate illusory spirit world. We are in urgent need of manpower now. I'm worried that there won't be enough people to come." Su Yi chuckled softly and said. He was not particularly flustered when he let Luo Jing and the others leave. Originally, the matter of the Origin Stone Mine had to be kept a secret. However, Su Yi had thought it through. Since the Celestial Spider sect already knew about it, it could not be kept a secret forever. Chapter 1142. Dragon Rhinoceros. How's the poison in your body? Can you suppress it for the time being? When the Purple Elephant Emperor and the Dragon Rhinoceros Emperor returned, Su Yi asked with a frown. "There's no problem for the time being, but you can't use your qi." The Dragon Rhinoceros Emperor replied. The Golden Spider's innate fiend poison was still very powerful. It was only because of his profound cultivation that he could temporarily suppress it with his own strength. However, he couldn't fight anyone now. Before he had a way to expel the poison. If he used his qi, it would accelerate the spread of the poison. "Suppress it for the time being. I'll let Big Brother take a look later." Su Yi nodded. As long as the Dragon Rhinoceros Emperor was fine for the time being, it was fine. His big brother, Merciless West, was an alchemist. He should have a solution. In addition, among the captured Sky Spider sect members, there were hundreds of innate fiend poison spiders. Perhaps he could obtain a way to detoxify the poison from them. If it really didn't work, he could find a way to suppress the Golden Spider after the Mystic Gate illusory spirit world was completed. Su Yi felt that the sect master of the Sky Spider sect would definitely not be willing to give up and would definitely come looking for him. Interrogate this old fellow well. "I'm going to get busy," Su Yi instructed and then left. "Big Brother, leave this to me." Su Xiaoshui nodded. He grabbed Elder Mu with a small claw and quickly flew away with a flap of his wings. The Dragon Rhinoceros Emperor and the Purple Elephant Emperor continued to patrol the surroundings to prevent anyone from intruding. In less than half a day's time, Su Xiaoshui actually grabbed Elder Mu and flew away again, directly leaving this place. Su Yi, the Purple Elephant Emperor, and the others naturally noticed this scene. They were very curious about what that guy was going to do. No one cared about Su Xiaoshui. Since this guy had gone out, he must be up to something again. Sect Master, the Origin Stones have been extracted. Su Yi was helping Merciless West when Nangong Ninyue suddenly came with a space bag in her hand and handed it to Su Yi. "You extracted the Origin Stones so quickly." Su Yi was overjoyed. He took the interspatial bag and opened it right away. Then he retrieved a few Origin Stones and examined them. He was extremely excited. It had only been a few days, and there were already primordial stones being mined. This really surprised him. Although the essence stones that Nangong Ningyu brought were only 1 star, this was only the topmost layer of the mineral deposit. There are definitely higher grade essence stones below. Su Yi was in a good mood as he said, "Great, the mining process must be accelerated. Collect all of the primordial stones and hand them over to me as soon as possible. Let's make this mystical gate illusory spirit world work first. Yes, Secmaster. Nangong Mingyu nodded and left. Big brother, how many more days will it take to finish setting up this leaf fire mystic yang realm? He returned to Merciless West Side and released his soul power. He drew upon the power of the remnant souls in the space and used it to carve runes. Although he was still unable to set up the entire mystical gate illusory spirit world, this kind of supporting work was already becoming more and more skilled. It should be about done in 3 more days. Merciless West did not even raise her head. She was still carving mysterious patterns with her soul power. He nodded when he heard this. 3 days was about the same as he expected. At that time, a certain amount of origin stones should have been mined. He did not dare to say that it was too much, but it should be enough to maintain the operation of the Leaf Fire Mystic Yang realm for a period of time. He did not speak anymore. He was busy setting up the Leaf Fire Mystic Yang realm in this mountainous area with Merciless West. On the mine, there were now hundreds of people performing their duties. Nangong Ning, you led people to mine the origin stones. Shu Chung Fu and the others, who had just joined the Bawang sect, became supervisors. They mainly supervised the mining of those people from the Celestial Spider sect. The periphery was still patrolled by the Purple Elephant Emperor, the Dragon Rhinoceros Emperor, and dozens of Bawang sect disciples. However, this place was not a lively place, so very few people came. However, something lively happened again at night. What's going on? The Purple Elephant Emperor stood in midair and sensed some energy fluctuations from afar. He looked around and suddenly realized that there were more than 1,000 people coming from afar. The Heaven Fiend Poison Spiders, and they're from the Celestial Spider sect. The Dragon Rhinoceros Emperor also noticed this scene. When he saw that some people were riding Heaven Fiend Poison Spiders in front of him, he frowned again. The people from the Celestial Spider sect came with such a large force. Are they looking to die? The Purple Elephant Emperor was puzzled. He was very confused. Luo Jing and Golden Spider were not fools. Why would they send so many disciples from the Celestial Spider sect here at this time? Could it be that they were hot-headed and wanted to rely on these disciples to take back the mine? No, Lord Handsome Su is behind. Suddenly, the Purple Elephant Emperor's eyes narrowed. He saw that there was an old man flying behind these people, slowly following behind more than 1,000 Celestial Spider sect disciples. And on top of this old man's head stood a little bird, looking proud with its head held high. What's going on? The Dragon Rhinoceros Emperor was stunned. For a moment, he was a little confused. Why was Handsome Su with the people from the Celestial Spider sect? It can't be. The Purple Elephant Emperor suddenly swallowed a mouthful of saliva and said with widened eyes, "It can't be that Lord Handsome Su wiped out the entire Celestial Spider sect, right?" The Dragon Rhinoceros Emperor was also shocked. Looking at the formation in front, it really did seem to be the case. The people from the Celestial Spider sect were all dejected, like herded cattle and sheep. Nangong Ningyue, I'll leave these people to you. When they were about to reach the mine, Handsome Su flew back and said, when 1,000 people were chased into the mine, everyone was shocked, including the hundreds of Celestial Spider sect disciples who were captured earlier. Their expressions changed greatly. Was there such a thing? Did the Celestial Spider sect exist specifically to provide free miners to the Bawang sect? More than 1,000 people were captured all of a sudden. That was definitely a clean sweep. The Celestial Spider sect disciples who stayed behind to guard the sect were basically wiped out. That's great. Nangong Ningyue was incomparably happy. With so many more miners, the mining efficiency would increase by a lot. Lord Handsome Su is really domineering. The Purple Elephant Emperor and the Dragon Rhinoceros Emperor widened their eyes and clicked their tongues in admiration. Perhaps only Handsome Su could come up with this idea. The dozens of disciples who had just joined the Bawang sect were all amazed at this time. They looked at Handsome Su with eyes full of admiration. According to this method, there was no need for them to recruit miners or anything like that. They might as well let the Overlord sect send out a group of experts specifically to sweep the area. Then they could kidnap a few people from other sects, and everything would be fine. Handsome Sue, how did you get so many people? When Sui found out about the situation, he was also very curious. Logically speaking, the Celestial Spider Sect should have received news from Luo Jing and the Golden Spider. They definitely wouldn't send themselves to the Bawang sect. Moreover, they would definitely be on guard against the Bawang sect. What's so difficult about this? Handsome Sue curled his lips and didn't care much about this. However, after listening to his story, Sue finally understood that this guy had abducted the entire sect back to him. It turned out that before Luo Jing, the Golden Spider, and Elder Mu came to the mine, they had already gathered 700 to 800 people and began to move, preparing to mine vitality stones. However, after this setback, Luo Jing and the Golden Spider sect returned and passed the news to Elder Yuan, who was leading the team. However, many ordinary disciples didn't know about this. After knowing that the mine was occupied, Elder Yuan returned with 700 to 800 disciples and prepared to guard against the Bawang sect. After Luo Jing and the Golden Spider sect told him the news, they left directly. No one knew where they went, but they said that they had important things to do. However, before Elder Yuan brought the disciples back to the Celestial Spider sect, Su Xiaoshui had already gone there under Elder Mu's instructions. He used his fastest speed to suppress all the Yuan Zhen realm and Yuan Void realm cultivators of the Celestial Spider sect. When Elder Yuan really rushed back, he was instantly taken down by Handsome Su again. Just like that, the entire Celestial Spider sect of more than 1,000 people was wiped out in one go. Handsome Su drove these people to the mine as if he was driving chickens and ducks. Since it was less than 100 miles away, it didn't take too long. It can be done like that. Su couldn't help but exclaim. He was already ruthless enough to make all the disciples of the Celestial Spider sect stay behind as miners. Handsome Su was even more ruthless than him. He directly went to their door and forcefully escorted them here one by one. In comparison, Su felt that his methods were really gentle. However, Handsome Su's actions opened Su Yi's mind to a new way of thinking. He felt that the Bawang sect could go out and walk around more. When the time came, he would definitely cause trouble and capture all the people of the opposing forces to mine vitality stones for him. This was much better than recruiting miners. At least he could save a lot of vitality stones. Just thinking about it made him happy. This method is really feasible. Su Yi's eyes lit up. He felt that this method was really feasible. Of course, he wouldn't really cause trouble for no reason because there was no need to. There was no need for them to move around at all. Luo Jing and Golden Spider would definitely attract more people. They met up with the disciples of the Celestial Spider sect and then left. It was possible that they really went to get reinforcements. It seemed that the other party really didn't want to let go of this mine. However, Su didn't care about this. It only took a few days to set up the Phantom World. He couldn't wait for more people to come. When the time came, he could take them all down and send them to the mine. It was a sure thing. Everything in the mine was going on in full swing. Some were mining, some were patrolling, and some were overseeing the work. At this time, some news began to spread in the outside world. On one hand, it was mainly because the news of the Alliance Conference was still popular. In addition, the Bawang sect's recent strong performance was talked about by many people. On the other hand, some of the nearby forces also found something strange. Did you hear? The 1,000 or 2,000 people of the Celestial Spider sect seemed to have disappeared into thin air. Suddenly, no one was left in the sect. Chapter 1143. It was unknown how many martial artists were astonished, and some of them felt inexplicably horrified. The Celestial Spider sect was one of the 13th-rate forces in the Chaos region. How could 1,000 or 2,000 people have disappeared without a trace? There was no sound at all. However, this matter could not be hidden for long. After all, when Handsome Su chased the 1,000 people away, he would have left some traces behind. Soon, someone would find them. However, Su and the others did not care about this matter at all. 3 days later, a strange soul power rose up from the Ermine. Strange runes flickered, and the Leaf Fire mysterious sun world was finally set up. Big brother, thank you for your hard work. He was delighted and thanked Merciless West. He took out all the vitality stones that he had plundered from the Gimdeo sect and the Seven-Star Sword School and handed them to his brother. These vitality stones could maintain the operation of the Leaf Fire Mystic Sun realm for a while, and there was an endless supply of vitality stones being extracted. We're safe now. The defense here is not any worse than an ordinary second-rated force. Merciless West looked at his work and was very satisfied. Previously, he was in a hurry and did not carefully carve the Leaf Fire Mystic Sun realm. In addition, it was his first time setting it up. At the same time, he had to prevent the Big Dipper sect from attacking quickly, so there were many areas that were not comprehensive. However, it was different this time. Merciless West spent a lot of effort and time to make the Spirit Mystic Sun realm in the mine much fiercer than the one that was used to deal with the Big Dipper sect. Of course, in this way, the consumption of primordial stones would be even more terrifying. Big brother, why don't you enter the mysterious space to recover? Leave the matters here to me. Sui said. Okay. Merciless West nodded without hesitation. The two of them found a place where no one was looking, opened the mysterious space, and entered at the same time. Sect leader. Just as they entered the mysterious space, an old man's figure flashed and stood in front of Sui and Merciless West. Wang Zhengquan, you broke through so quickly? Seeing this skinny old man, Sui was also surprised. Wang Zhengquan was originally at the 9th level of the Origin Void stage and was still quite a distance away from the Origin Monarch stage. He never expected that after consuming the spirit liquid, he would actually break through to the 1st level of the Origin Monarch stage in just over 10 days. This speed indeed surprised Sui. One had to know that when Huang Jian broke through, it took him a very long time. On the path of cultivation, the most important thing is to be steady and steady. If you rush for success, your future path will be even more difficult. You broke through to the Origin Emperor realm too hastily. This isn't a good thing. However, since I've already made a breakthrough, I should spend more time polishing my foundation so that I won't find it difficult to improve in the future. Merciless West stared at Wang Zhengquan and said indifferently, Yes, sir. Hearing this, Wang Zhengquan immediately bowed and said respectfully. Sui frowned slightly. Only now did he understand that this little old man was rushing for success and disregarding his foundation in order to break through. This made him very displeased. My spirit liquid is the rarest and most precious. I won't waste it on you, Sui said softly. He was really displeased. He only felt that it was a little too wasteful to use the spirit liquid like this. However, at this moment, Wang Zhengquan said respectfully to Sui, Sect leader, don't worry. I know what I'm doing. I definitely won't waste sect leader's spirit liquid. The reason why I'm rushing to break through is because I want to contribute more to the Bawang sect. As for my foundation, I still have more than half of the spirit liquid that sect leader gave me. I'll use it to polish my foundation. I definitely won't let the spirit liquid go to waste. Hearing this, Sui's frown finally eased. If that was the case, then it was understandable. Using only half of the spirit liquid to break through to the Origin Emperor realm was already very good. The remaining half of the bottle could indeed help Wang Zhengquan gradually stabilize his foundation. If used properly, there was hope for him to break through to the next level in a few days. That's good. Sui nodded and did not say much. Merciless West also did not say much and sat down cross-legged. Green Emperor, Yin Yang Emperor of the Dead, and Devouring Spirit Emperor should be breaking through soon. When Sui looked at the 3 figures in the depths of the space, he could not help but think so. He was looking forward to it. When the 3 of them broke through again, their strength would be absolutely terrifying. He did not disturb them. Instead, he led Wang Zhengquan out of the mysterious space. What is this place? When Wang Zhengquan walked out of the mysterious space, he was suddenly stunned. This was obviously not where the Bawang sect was. This is a newly excavated primordial stone mine in the Bawang sect. Sui did not hide anything and said plainly. However, in Wang Zhengquan's ears, it was like a sudden clap of thunder. What? primordial stone mine? His voice suddenly rose an octave as he screamed in fear. Then, He was shocked to see that the old man's eyes were emitting green light. He kept licking his lips with his tongue and looked excited. Mine. Our Bawang sect actually has a primordial stone mine. Wang Zhengquan was so excited that he kept rubbing his hands. He was so happy that he looked like a 60 or 70-year-old child. At this moment, He felt that the old man's greed was definitely greater than his. He did not say anything about it. He just brought Wang Zhengquan to find some other people. This is the formation map of the Li Fire Mystic Sun Realm. All patrolling people must strictly follow the established route. After meeting with the Purple Elephant Emperor, the Dragon Rhinoceros Emperor, and the others, Yi took out the formation map again and handed it to them. The Li Fire Mystic Sun Realm had been set up, and a large number of primordial stones have been placed on the stone platform in the center. Under normal circumstances, as long as no one touched the restriction, the Li Fire Mystic Sun Realm would not open and would only consume a small amount of primordial stones. The entire Mystic Sun Realm was prepared at all times. Once an enemy invaded, it would automatically activate. However, to truly unleash its power, someone had to be in the center. Before that, the people of the Bawang sect needed to understand the route to avoid any mistakes. Boss, there are already a lot of people mining now. We have to consider expanding the scale of mining. Su Xiaoshui flapped his wings and said aloud. He nodded. He had also considered these matters, but he did not plan to personally worry about it. Everything was left to Nangong Ningyue to arrange. After the primordial stones mined are calculated, they will be collected and kept by Wang Zhengquan. It will be the accumulation of our Bawang sect. He looked at the people present and said, this old man was very greedy for money. When he saw the primordial stones, his eyes lit up. He felt that he would leave the management of money to him to see the effect. Anyway, he would definitely not be able to personally worry about this kind of thing in the future. Sect Master, hearing that he was going to be in charge of the primordial stones, Wang Zhengquan seemed to have been struck by lightning. He was shocked and motionless. His eyes widened as he looked at Yi in disbelief, as if he had heard something wrong. The Bawang sect doesn't have many people now. You will be in charge of the primordial stone resources first. Nangong Ningyue will be in charge of the manpower and arrangements. The two of you will work together and take care of these things. Yi said. Sect Master. Wang Zhengquan still had not recovered. After a long while, he suddenly knelt on the ground and said in a trembling voice, Thank you, Sect Master. This subordinate will take care of the Bawang sect's wealth and resources in an orderly manner. I will never let down Sect Master's trust. Wang Zhengquan was really excited. He knew that this was his chance, a chance to rise up. As long as everything was taken care of, there would definitely be a place for him in the Bawang sect's upper echelons in the future. Master is starting to delegate power now. Not only Wang Zhengquan, but the Purple Elephant Emperor, the Dragon Rhinoceros Emperor, and the others also began to realize that Yi's words today were already beginning to assign the Bawang sect's various duties. Nangong Ningyue would be in charge of the people and affairs, and the money would be handed over to Wang Zhengquan. Slowly, more people would be assigned different duties. In fact, their guess was right. This was Yi's plan. A complete sect definitely could not do without this kind of mechanism. Power also needed to be distributed so that it would be easier to manage. From a certain point of view, Yi felt that people like Wang Zhengquan were very suitable to be in charge of money. This guy was greedy, but most greedy people would keep their money. Yi felt that he was more or less the same. In addition, Yi had no plans to assign titles to his big brother, Merciless West, Su Xiaoshui, the Green Emperor, the Yin-Yang Underworld Emperor, the Dragon Rhinoceros Emperor, the Devouring Spirit Emperor, the Purple Elephant Emperor, the Black Turtle Emperor, Huang Jian, and the other emperors. For these people, the most important thing was to improve their strength. They were the most powerful force in the Bawang sect. It was impossible for them to worry about so many mundane matters. When a sect was truly powerful, all the titles would be casually assigned by Yi. All right, everyone go to your own things. Su-yi dismissed everyone except for the dragon rhinoceros emperor, and then brought him into the mysterious space. On this mind, there was finally order gradually. Everyone could completely relax and do their best to work. Everything was running in an orderly manner. Thousands of people were running like a huge machine, each performing their own duties. In a mine, primordial stones were constantly being mined. After a few days, the number of primordial stones excavated was enough for the Lee Fire Mystic Sun realm to operate for a whole day and night. The Sky Fiend poison of the Sky Fiend poisonous spider is not easy to detoxify. It requires a drop of the poisoner's blood essence to refine the detoxification pill. In mysterious space, Merciless West quickly recovered more than half. After waking up, he looked at the dragon rhinoceros emperor and said, "That's a little troublesome. I don't know when the golden spider will appear again." So he couldn't help but frown. It doesn't matter. Chapter 1144. Seeing this scene, Su-yi felt much more at ease. He was still worried about the innate baleful poison in the dragon rhinoceros emperor. With Merciless West's elixir, there was no need to worry about the dragon rhinoceros emperor's health. He just didn't know when the golden spider would appear again. When the time came, he had to suppress it and obtain its blood essence. "I'm going to cultivate in peace for a while." After that, Merciless West and the dragon rhinoceros emperor were sent out of the mysterious space, while Su-yi remained inside. Since the Alliance Conference, Su-yi hadn't had a good closed-door cultivation for a few months. The primordial yang sky bone only has about 20% of the bones left, and the transformation is not complete. Su-yi sat cross-legged on the ground and gently closed his eyes. Previously, on the Nirvana Dragon platform, he had refined more than 100 primordial yang sky bones at an astonishing speed. Su-yi later found out that the young experts on the other 9 levels of the Nirvana Dragon platform had only obtained a limited amount of benefits, which was countless times worse than the previous years. Others didn't know the reason, but Su-yi knew that it had something to do with him after thinking about it for a while. After robbing so many people, Su-yi was able to improve so much. Now, he could only slowly cultivate for the rest of the time. Based on his previous speed, it would take a lot of time to reach the 6th level of the mixed Yuan demon body. Let's cultivate martial techniques first. Su-yi thought to himself. Pieces of information flashed in his mind, and the cultivation method of the 8 Desolation Wrath appeared in his memory. 8 Desolation Wrath, like the Overlord Fist, was a martial technique from the mixed Yuan Supreme technique. The Overlord Fist was simple, domineering, and extremely violent. It had the effect of defeating 10 with 1 strength. It could destroy mountains, shake mountains, and destroy everything. The 8 Desolation Wrath was different. It was a leg technique that was relatively more complicated, but it was also domineering and had the momentum to kick in all directions. The 8 Desolation Wrath had a total of 3 moves. The first 2 moves were the 1-foot suppressing mountains and rivers and the violent shadow, shattering 9 nether. Su-yi had already mastered them, and they were his trump cards. The third style of 8 Desolation Wrath, 9 Extinction, shaking the universe. Su-yi muttered the name of the third move. The detailed cultivation method for this move flashed through his mind simultaneously. The origin energy in his body began to circulate according to the circulation route. The Yuan Qi in Su-yi's body surged towards his legs. All of a sudden, his cross-legged figure bounced up from the ground and flew into the air. Su-yi's right foot suddenly stomped fiercely on the void. It was so powerful that it was as if a mountain had crashed down, causing a huge tremor. Even the surrounding space was shaking. Just as the momentum began to spread, the young man in the air moved again and fiercely stomped his foot again. Boom! An even louder sound reverberated through the air. It was at least twice as loud as before. But all of this was just the beginning. After Su-yi's 2 feet landed one after another, he continued to stomp several more times. Each time, it was as if a huge mountain had shaken the sky, and each time, it was more powerful than the previous one. The power was multiplied. In just a short span of 2 breaths, 9 consecutive stomps had been made. It was only until the last stomp that the momentum of the first stomp dissipated, and the power of this last stomp had reached a terrifying level. In the mysterious space, everything within a mile radius was trembling incessantly. It was as if thousands of mountains were collapsing at the same time, fiercely surging. Su-Yi landed on the void, and the surrounding momentum gradually disappeared. He placed his hands on his knees and panted heavily. Large beads of sweat rolled down from his forehead. No, it's still too far away. When the momentum calmed down, Su-Yi frowned tightly. He only felt that the power he displayed was still far away from the real 9 extremes, heaven-shaking 9 extremes. According to the requirements of the cultivation method, the 9 stomps had to be made in the blink of an eye. The power of each stomp would increase exponentially. When it came to the last stomp, the real power was already more than 500 times of the first stomp. One had to admit that this was a little too terrifying. However, Su-Yi was very clear that his last stomp was still too far away from this stage. According to the description, 9 extremes, heaven-shaking 9 extremes, could really shake heaven and earth, which was to shake the space. Such power could only be achieved by a true Origin Emperor powerhouse. Continue to cultivate. Su-Yi took a few breaths and then flew into the air again, kicking out one after another ferociously. He continued to cultivate this martial technique. The tyrannical power shook unceasingly, setting off one fierce storm after another in the mysterious space. This third move of 8 Desolation Wrath consumed a terrifying amount of vitality. If it were an ordinary Origin Void Realm martial artist, it would probably be difficult to cultivate even once. It was also fortunate that Su-Yi's Great Void Divine Sea was vast and boundless. His vitality was many times more vigorous than ordinary people. This was why he could cultivate again and again. However, after half a day, Su-Yi stopped again. He only felt that some parts of his body were experiencing intense soreness. This was something that rarely happened. These painful places are all places that have not tempered the primordial yang heavenly bone. After perceiving, Su-Yi discovered such a situation. Most of the bones in his body had transformed into the primordial yang heavenly bone, but there were still dozens of bones that had not transformed. And at this time, it was the corresponding organizations in these places that could not withstand the power of 9 extremes, heaven-shaking 9 extremes. It seems that this third move of 9 extremes, heaven-shaking 9 extremes, heaven-shaking 9 extremes, cannot be used smoothly after cultivating it successfully. It must also be built on the foundation that the primordial yang heavenly bone has completely transformed. Su-Yi pondered and came to this understanding. Fortunately, Su-Yi's leg bones had already transformed into Yuan yang heavenly bones. Therefore, although there was a little pain, he could still endure it. However, he knew that if he wanted to unleash the true power of a 9 extinction, heaven-shaking 9 extinction, he had to first refine all of the Yuan Yang heavenly bones. Let's take it one step at a time. By the time I master this move, perhaps the primordial Yang heavenly bone will have been completely tempered. Su-Yi thought to himself. He sat cross-legged on the ground and began to regulate his breathing. He began to restore the primordial chi in the Great Void Spirit Sea. In the following half a month, Su-Yi was completely immersed in this state of cultivation. When he was full of energy, he tried his best to explore the way of cultivation of the 9 seals that shook the universe. When his power was exhausted, he would seriously recover and not be impatient. During this time, he also paid attention to the situation of the people in the mysterious space. The Green Emperor, the Yin-Yang Emperor of the Dead, and the Devouring Spirit Emperor were all full of demonic aura. The aura of the 3 Beast Emperors rose steadily and became more and more terrifying. It caused the space to tremble and shake. It was faintly distorted, and terrifying folds appeared in a flash. This was also because they were in the mysterious space. If they were in the outside world, who knew how many people would be alarmed, and countless savage demonic beasts would tremble in fear. The two from the Sky Spider sect did not appear again. I don't know why. He also took some time out of the mysterious space in the past 10 days to walk around the mine. To his surprise, Luo Jing and the Golden Spider from the Sky Spider sect, who had come aggressively earlier, did not appear for a long time. They had said that if Su Yi did not agree to the conditions of mining together, they would inform a second-rate force about this place. However, Su Yi was not afraid. With the illusory spirit world, even if a second-rate force came out in full force, they could not really crush the Bawang sect. Therefore, Su Yi was a little disappointed. He wanted to see how much stronger the Fire Mystic Sun realm set up by his elder brother, Merciless West, was compared to the last time. Of course, in the end, it was naturally a good thing that there were no enemies. The only thing that he cared about was the blood essence of the Golden Spider. As the mining process progressed, more and more primordial stones were excavated. There were a total of almost 2,000 primordial stones. The efficiency was very high. During this period of time, Handsome Su had recruited a group of people from somewhere. When it's about time, I have to pay back the debt to the Lingbao Pavilion first. Su Yi calculated the time. There were less than 2 months left before the 1-year deadline. If he did not pay back the 1 billion one-star primordial stones that he owed the Lingbao Pavilion, Su Yi would feel guilty in his heart. In addition, he always felt that although the black card of the Lingbao Pavilion had great authority, it was estimated that there would be credit evaluation similar to the bank's in his previous life. If he was late, there might be trouble. At the very least, there would be a stain on his record. It would probably not be easy to get credit in the future. Continue to cultivate. Su Yi made up his mind. As long as the primordial stones mined from the mine were enough, he would choose a day to pay back the debt. The most important thing now was to cultivate. This 9-extinction Qiankuan should have the momentum to suppress everything. Every kick should carry the spirit of breaking the universe. Su Yi carefully pondered, constantly thinking about the key points of the 9-extinction Qiankuan. The cultivation of this move would be a relatively long process. If he wanted to really use it in actual combat and exert its power, he was afraid that it would take a lot of time. Time passed quickly, and another half a month passed unknowingly. Su Yi had been immersed in cultivation all this time. It was also on this day that a terrifying sound of thunder broke out in the mysterious space. Rumble, bolts of lightning slashed vertically and horizontally in the sky, like terrifying electric dragons swimming in the sky. The momentum was so great that it shook everything. The power in the mysterious space was stirred up, and a storm was formed, sweeping toward the surroundings. It was as if it could destroy the mountains and shake the mountains. It was extremely terrifying. A large part of the sky was shrouded in haze. The wind between heaven and earth swept, and a variety of strange phenomena appeared. What happened? This situation suddenly alarmed Su Yi. In the medicine field not far away, the blood jasper ginseng also ran out and asked Su Yi in horror. The terrifying pressure between heaven and earth made the blood jasper ginseng unable to resist. Chapter 1145. It's the Green Emperor. Very quickly, Su Yi shouted out. Such a mighty aura came from none other than the Green Emperor. At this time, the green figure was still sitting cross-legged with his eyes closed, in a state of cultivation. However, under the gazes of Su Yi and the blood jade spirit ginseng, his body gradually rose into the air and directly rose into the air like a valiant god. The wind under his feet roared, and the lightning above his head coiled up. He was indescribably majestic and domineering. Woo-woo. The Green Emperor's body seemed to expand. Green light shone brightly, and with a terrifying woo-woo sound, he turned into a huge snake that was dozens of feet long. This huge snake was ferocious. Its body was covered in green scales, but it had 2 pairs of wings that flapped open and closed. Buzz, buzz. The 4 wings flapped, and the sound was like a bell. Its aura was fierce, and its blood-red eyes were terrifying. The Green Emperor's Mingxi body is much stronger than before. He looked at this scene with a cold gaze. When he first saw the Green Emperor's body, one pair of wings was huge and the other pair was very small. But now the small pair of wings had grown and were only slightly smaller than the big pair. The Green Emperor's body was a Ming-Shi, but his bloodline was not very pure. However, Su-Yi felt that his bloodline was not inferior to the purest Ming-Shi. Su-Yi could even see that on the Green Emperor's body, there were wisps of imperceptible golden light flickering. That was the aura of the golden dragon. Could it be that the Green Emperor has completely refined that drop of golden dragon blood essence? Seeing such a powerful aura, Su-Yi's heart trembled. At the same time, he was also looking forward to it. He wondered what benefits that drop of golden dragon blood essence could bring to the Green Emperor. Boom, boom, boom. Thunder rumbled and lightning flashed, illuminating a terrifying scene in the mysterious space. In this scene, the Ming-Shi's aura was surging crazily and becoming more and more powerful. From the peak of the LV5 Demon Emperor realm at the beginning, he directly broke through the barrier and entered the LV6 Demon Emperor realm. Moreover, his momentum did not stop. He rushed all the way to the peak of the LV6 Demon Emperor realm. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The hurricane was howling, and everything was still going on. Su-Yi and the blood jasper spirit Ginseng both saw that the golden light on the Green Emperor's body, which was originally hard to detect, suddenly became obvious, as if a layer of golden gauze was covering its body. When the golden light appeared, his aura suddenly rose again. Roar! A dragon-like roar reverberated, causing people's minds to tremble. It was unknown what kind of power had attacked the dark clouds and lightning in the sky, but it instantly collapsed and exploded under this dragon-like roar. Whoosh! LV7 Demon Emperor Realm. Peak of LV7 Demon Emperor Realm. Whoosh, whoosh. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. Under the two-colored fog, the terrifying roar of a flood dragon rang out. Then, the Yin-Yang Emperor of the Netherworld rose into the sky. The Yin-Yang Emperor of the Dead let out a long roar that sounded like a dragon's roar. Then his body shone brightly as layers of black and white scales spread out from his body. His body also started to expand. Everything happened very quickly. The void trembled violently. A huge flood dragon that was hundreds of feet long soared into the sky. Its scales were black on the left and white on the right. They had a metallic texture and emitted a dim light. Its aura at the peak of LV5 Demon Royal Realm swept out without reservation. The flood dragon's head was ferocious as it opened its bloody mouth and roared ferociously. The Yin-Yang Hell Emperor is about to make a breakthrough. Su-Yi's gaze fell there, and his heart began to throb. The Green Emperor and the Yin-Yang Underworld Emperor had both received a drop of golden dragon blood essence from him. Now that the Green Emperor had successfully broken through, the Yin-Yang Hell Emperor should not be any weaker than him. His eyes were fixed on the scene. He wanted to witness all of this happen. What a terrifying beast emperor. The aura of these two beast emperors is too terrifying. The blood jasper Ginseng said in a daze. He had not recovered from the momentum of the Green Emperor's breakthrough. At the same time, the place where the Yin-Yang Hell Emperor stood was filled with endless black and white light. The huge Yin-Yang Hell Flood Dragon's body twisted as if he was bathed in the light. His aura soared. The process was almost the same as that of the Green Emperor. They both started from the peak of LV5 Demon Royal Realm and finally stopped at LV8 Demon Royal Realm. The Yin-Yang Hell Emperor's body was also emitting a terrifying golden dragon's aura. Golden light burst out. Su-Yi and the blood jasper Ginseng widened their eyes as they watched all of this. They were both shocked. A beast emperor at LV8 Demon Royal Realm. What a terrifying cultivation. In a normal battle, an ordinary LV9 Origin Royal Realm martial artist would probably be no match for them. Perhaps only existences like the merciless West could pose a great threat to them. In other words, as long as they did not encounter those abnormal human beings, The Green Emperor and the Yin-Yang Hell Emperor could do whatever they wanted with their current cultivation. The Bawang sect's strength has grown stronger. Su Yi unconsciously clenched his fists. He was very excited. The stronger the strength of the people around him, the stronger the Bawang sect as a whole. Su Yi was getting closer to his goal. He knew very well that it was impossible for him to compete with the sacred mountain with his own strength. Only when the Bawang sect grew stronger could he wash away all the humiliation he had suffered in the past. Master, just as Su Yi was thinking, the Green Emperor, who had successfully broken through, landed beside him and transformed into a human. Su Yi nodded and did not say anything. He was still staring at the Yin-Yang Hell Emperor. What is the Yin-Yang Hell Emperor doing? Not long after, Su Yi began to feel a little strange because he saw that the Yin-Yang Hell Emperor had successfully broken through to the LV8 Demon Royal Realm. However, it seemed that everything was not over yet. The Green Emperor and the Blood Jasper Ginseng also looked curiously at the Yin-Yang Hell Emperor. Under their gazes, the Yin-Yang Hell Emperor's huge body was coiled up in the void, emitting a terrifying golden light. However, the strange thing was that the Yin-Yang Hell Emperor's strength did not continue to increase under this pressure. Instead, his body gradually coiled up. The huge body of the dragon slowly gathered into a pile. The energy in his body was slowly withdrawn and no longer fluctuated. He was like an ordinary snake that was hibernating in winter. What is this guy doing? The Green Emperor was also a little puzzled and could not help but raise his eyebrows. Although there were many doubts, Su Yi and the others did not disturb the Yin-Yang Hell Emperor. They just watched quietly. First, they saw the Yin-Yang Hell Dragon's body coiled up. Then, the golden light shone again and covered his entire body, making it impossible to see clearly again. Then, a large amount of black and white fog rolled in. As if it was attracted by some mysterious force, it covered the body of the dragon. Nothing could be seen anymore. Su Yi and the other two looked at each other and did not understand what was going on. However, they were not in a hurry. They were still watching with rapt attention. The vast black and white fog was activated and intertwined. Everything seemed to have calmed down for the time being. However, Su Yi and the others did not have to wait for too long. Only 2 hours later, they could clearly see that the black and white fog began to change dramatically. The black and white colors began to separate on both sides. Half of the fog was dark and deep, while the other half was white and dazzling. They were clearly separated. Roar! The terrible cry of the dragon spread out. It sounded like a dragon's roar. It was terrifying and mixed with great pain. What's going on? Su Yi, the Green Emperor, and the Blood Jasper Ginseng were all puzzled. However, they did not dare to step forward rashly. Under their worried gazes, the black and white lights finally separated completely. But from the looks of it, it was as if something that was originally a single entity had suddenly been forcefully torn apart. When the two balls of light separated, Su Yi and the others did not see the body of the Yin-Yang Hell Emperor appear. This was very strange. I know, the Green Emperor suddenly exclaimed and said with amazement. He has the body of Yin and Yang coexisting. This time, they are completely separated. This must be it. There's no mistake. The corners of the Green Emperor's eyes twitched. He knew about the Yin-Yang Hell Emperor, so it was not difficult for him to guess this result. Is that so? Su Yi was also full of expectation. He understood when the Green Emperor explained. He knew that the Yin-Yang Hell Emperor had the body of Yin and Yang coexisting. This was not the same as the ordinary Yin-Yang Hell Flood Dragons. The ordinary Yin-Yang Hell Flood Dragons were hermaphrodites. However, when they reached the Demon Royal Realm, they could choose one according to their will. Eventually, their gender would be stable and would not change. However, the Yin-Yang Hell Emperor was different. He could change his gender at any time. This was an extremely rare body constitution. However, when he was with Su Yi and the others, the Yin-Yang Hell Emperor appeared as a man. However, at this time, the power of Yin and Yang had been separated. According to the Green Emperor, the Yin-Yang Hell Emperor had become two independent people. Look, They are about to appear. The Green Emperor exclaimed again. There was some shock in his eyes. Chapter 1146. That's when the light dissipated. Su-Yi was stunned when he saw the scene before him. A black flood dragon, dozens of feet long, was entrenched in the void in the place where the black light had covered. A white flood dragon appeared in the place where the white light had come from. The two flood dragons were huge and sturdy, and they looked majestic. They woke up from their slumber and began to twist their bodies. Roar! The two flood dragons roared softly, and then light bloomed from their bodies again. In the next moment, the two flood dragons suddenly changed into human figures, a man and a woman. Master! After the man and the woman appeared, they immediately came to Su-Yi and greeted him respectfully. Both of them looked very young, less than 30 years old. The man was handsome, with sword-like eyebrows and bright eyes. He wore a white robe, which was the appearance of the Yin-Yang Emperor of the Netherworld. Su-Yi had seen the Yin-Yang Emperor of the Netherworld once. Her lips were like cherry blossoms, her eyebrows were like ink paintings, and her spirit was like autumn water. She had an indescribable charm and was extremely beautiful. The woman was tall, and a black veil was wrapped tightly around her graceful body, revealing an almost perfect curve, which made her even more enchanting. Su-Yi was still in shock as he looked at the situation. Initially, there was only one person. Now, there were two of them. He was still a little unprepared. Su-Yi had never thought that the Yin-Yang Emperor of the Netherworld could have such an ability. He had thought that he could at most change between men and women. Did I scare you, Master? The woman of the Yin-Yang Emperor of the Netherworld suddenly covered her mouth and smiled. Her eyes unconsciously revealed a teasing look with infinite charm. Of course, Su-Yi was not scared, nor would he be moved by the woman's beauty. He suddenly smiled helplessly and asked, "You are both transformed by the Yin-Yang Emperor of the Netherworld. But now, are you still the same person?" This was the biggest doubt in Su-Yi's heart. The Yin-Yang Emperor of the Netherworld was originally the same person who could freely change between men and women. But now that they were separated, were they still the same person? Would they still share the same soul? Master, we were originally one, but now we are completely separated. The Yin-Yang Emperor of the Dead smiled and said to Su-Yi, "Moreover, not only are our physical bodies separated, but our souls are also separated. We each have the same memories of the past. In other words, from now on, we are two completely different people. We will have different perceptions and feelings. Most importantly, I'm a man and she's a woman." At the end of his sentence, the man looked at the woman beside him. "Is that so?" Su-Yi nodded. Now he understood. The Yin-Yang Hell Flood Dragon Clan's experts would have completely stabilized their gender when they broke through to the Demon Emperor realm. However, an accident had happened to the Yin-Yang Hell Emperor, which led to the birth of the Yin-Yang coexisting body. Now, it seemed that this was not a bad thing. After they separated, it meant that the Bawang sect suddenly had another demon emperor. As long as they were still loyal to him, this shouldn't be a bad thing for Su-Yi. Then, after you separated, did your strength also decrease? Su-Yi suddenly raised his eyebrows and asked. Not long ago, he sensed that the Yin-Yang Emperor of the Dead had broken through to the LV8 Demon Emperor realm, just like the Green Emperor. This cultivation was very terrifying. However, if there was a loss because of separation, it didn't seem to be worth the loss. Now, the two of them were restraining their auras. With Su-Yi's cultivation, he couldn't see clearly. "Don't worry, Master." The woman suddenly smiled and said gently, "Although we separated and our strength did decrease a lot, we both stabilized at the LV8 Demon Emperor realm and didn't fall. That's great." Su-Yi was overjoyed. It was not as simple as having one more Beast Emperor. It was a Beast Emperor at the LV8 Demon Emperor realm, which was a bit too scary. It could be said that the overall strength of the Bawang sect had reached a huge level. However, when Su-Yi was just beginning to feel happy, what the man said next shocked Su even more. "From now on, the two of us will be independent and can practice separately. After all, we are from the same body, so we have a lot of commonalities. The man slightly raised the corners of his mouth and said calmly, "So, when necessary, we can still fight as one, which can directly double our strength." Double our strength? He was shocked. If so, it would be really terrifying. After the two beast emperors at the LV8 Demon Emperor realm joined as one, their strength would be double. Don't underestimate this double. It's not something that the previous two people could compare to. However, when Yi was just shocked, the man transformed by the Yin-Yang Emperor of the Dead added lightly, "It could also be triple, or even more." Yi wanted to say something, but when he heard this, he opened his mouth but could not say anything for a long time. If the Yin-Yang Emperor of the Dead's strength was tripled, how strong would he be? Even his big brother, Merciless West, would not dare to say that he would definitely win if he fought with him. In other words, the Bawang sect now had two experts who were close to the half-origin Grandmaster realm. After all, Hong Qianlong, the sect leader of the Tiangang sect, had only tied with his big brother, Merciless West. The advanced level of the Demon Emperor realm. When can I reach this level? The Blood Jade Spirit Ginseng sighed from the side. It looked at the people present with endless envy in its eyes. Yi and the others did not notice the Blood Jasper Ginseng sigh. He continued to look at the man and woman transformed by the Yin-Yang Emperor of the Dead and asked, "Now that you have split into two people, you should also have new names so that it will be easier to distinguish you." "Master, our original bodies are the Yin-Yang Hell Flood Dragons. Now, we are like normal Yin-Yang Hell Flood Dragons and have chosen the only cultivation path in the Demon Emperor realm. So from now on, you can call me Yang Ming and Shi Yin Ming." The man transformed by the Yin-Yang Emperor of the Dead said, "Yin Ming and Yang Ming." He nodded. These two names were easy to remember and easy to pronounce. Very soon, this matter was settled. He continued to chat with them. Only then did he recover from the shock brought by the Yin-Yang Emperor of the Dead's transformation. He began to ask them about some specific things and the Green Emperor's situation after his breakthrough. "What's wrong with you?" However, when Sui looked at the Green Emperor, he saw that he was staring at Yin Ming, as if he was in a daze. Master, what did you say?" Hearing Suyi's question, the Green Emperor was stunned for a breath's time. Then, he looked away and fixed his eyes on Su. But obviously, his throat moved unconsciously just now. The corners of Suyi's mouth involuntarily curled into a smile when he saw this scene. Could it be that this fellow was tempted by Yin Ming? Yang Ming smiled knowingly towards this and didn't say anything. On the contrary, Yin Ming suddenly blushed. Her mature and enchanting posture showed a strange shyness. It was really strange. He did not care about this. He did not want to interfere too much with what happened to these two people in the future. "Have you finished refining the Golden Dragon Essence blood?" After a while, Yi changed the topic and asked the three of them. "Master, I have finished refining the Golden Dragon Essence blood. Otherwise, I would not have improved so much. Furthermore, I also obtained a special technique of the Golden Dragon clan from the blood essence left behind." The Green Emperor thought for a while and told Yi the result of his breakthrough. Through his narration, Yi was also shocked. It had to be said that the bloodline of the Golden Dragon clan was too terrifying. Just a drop of essence blood could make the Green Emperor undergo a huge transformation. Now, the bloodline in his body was no longer the simple Mingxi bloodline, but the Golden Dragon bloodline. His physical body also had some characteristics of the Dragon Clan, and he could use the Dragon Clan's attack methods. Speaking of this change, it was not particularly big at the moment. However, as time passed, everything would become more terrifying. In addition, the Green Emperor also obtained a Golden Dragon Clan's innate divine ability, which was an attack method. We are about the same. We also obtain an attack method, and it is very powerful. After hearing the Green Emperor's words, Yang Ming also spoke. His benefits were exactly the same as Yin Ming's. After Yin and Yang were separated, the methods they grasped didn't disappear. They both grasped them. However, the Golden Dragon bloodline in their bodies was much thinner than the Green Emperor's. If they wanted to transform in the future, the speed might be slower. Of course, this was only the case in theory. Everything depended on their cultivation and their own opportunities. This time, the harvest is huge, so he was extremely satisfied. Looking at the three people in front of him, he was filled with boundless joy. A drop of golden dragon essence blood could produce such a huge effect. The separation of the Yin and Yang underworld emperors Yin and Yang was also due to the golden dragon essence blood. In an instant, the overall strength of the Bawang sect improved a lot. Yin Ming and Yang Ming's strength was a little weaker than the Green Emperor's, but if they combined, they would be much stronger. Su Yi thought that if this had happened earlier, when the Tiangang sect invaded the Bawang sect, they would have had a good chance to kill Hong Qianlong in the Li Fire Mystic Yang realm. Let's wait a little longer. The spirit-devouring emperor should be breaking through soon. I don't know what level he will reach this time. Su Yi glanced around, and all the strange phenomena in the space disappeared at this time. However, in another place, the spirit-devouring emperor's aura was still vigorous, and there was a strong, icy aura spreading out, as if it could freeze people's souls. Chapter 1147. When he said that he was going to cultivate in seclusion, he told Su Yi that he was only showing signs of a breakthrough, but he might not be able to break through to the 6th level of the Demon Emperor realm. Therefore, Su Yi did not have high expectations. After all, the spirit-devouring emperor did not get the same benefits as the golden dragon's blood essence. Su Yi thought that it would be good enough if the spirit-devouring emperor could successfully break through to the 6th level of the Demon Emperor realm. Even if the spirit-devouring emperor did not break through this time, he thought it was acceptable. However, to the surprise of Su Yi, the Green Emperor, and the others, the space around the spirit-devouring emperor was completely filled with a cold aura. His strength was rising steadily. The 5th level of the Demon Emperor realm, the peak of the 5th level of the Demon Emperor realm, the 6th level of the Demon Emperor realm, the peak of the 6th level of the Demon Emperor realm. The spirit-devouring emperor's breakthrough did not stop until he reached the peak of the 6th level of the Demon Emperor realm. In the end, it slowly stabilized. When the cold aura in the sky dissipated, the short figure appeared again. "Master!" The spirit-devouring emperor came to Su Yi with great excitement and bowed respectfully. His old face was full of gratitude. If it were not for Su Yi, the spirit-devouring emperor knew that his cultivation would still be at the 3rd level of the Demon Emperor realm. However, in just a few months, he had crossed more than 3 levels. This was unimaginable in the past. The inheritance in this mysterious space was indeed terrifying. Therefore, the spirit-devouring emperor was so excited that his body could not help but tremble. However, after a while, when his eyes met the Green Emperor, Yang Ming, and Yin Ming, he was stunned. The spirit-devouring emperor was very confused and had endless questions in an instant. However, the 3 beast emperors in front of him were all looking at him with a faint smile. They are Yang Ming and Yin Ming. They are the 2 incarnations of the Yin-Yang Emperor of the Underworld and the Green Emperor. The 3 of them have broken through to the 8th level of the Demon Emperor realm. Su Yi looked at the spirit-devouring emperor and could not help but explain. The 8th level of the Demon Emperor realm. Hearing this, the devouring spirit emperor's eyes widened like copper bells in an instant. His face was filled with disbelief. In the next moment, the excitement on his face turned into a bitter smile. What the hell? He had been complacent about the fact that he had broken through a little more than 1 level. But now he saw that the Green Emperor and the Yin-Yang Ghost Emperor had both broken through to the 8th level of the Demon Royal Realm. Most importantly, the Yin-Yang Emperor of the Dead had split into 2 people, both of whom were at the LV8 Demon Royal Realm. How were they supposed to compete? Wasn't this too much of a blow? The spirit-devouring emperor felt very helpless. It seemed that the earlier he followed his master, the more benefits he would receive and the faster his strength would increase. Fortunately, he could still find a sense of superiority from the Purple Elephant Emperor, the Dragon Rhinoceros Emperor, and the Black Turtle Emperor. Thinking of this made him feel much better. Since you've all finished breaking through, you may all leave. The Bawang sect is in dire need of people. Su Yi said to the Green Emperor, Yang Ming, Yin Ming, and the spirit-devouring emperor. Before they went into seclusion, Su Yi had not opened the primordial stones, nor had he told them about it. Therefore, he simply told them about the situation outside. They left the mysterious space. After meeting Merciless West, the Purple Elephant Emperor, the Dragon Rhinoceros Emperor, and the others, they spent some time telling them about the Yin-Yang Emperor of the Dead split into Yang Ming and Yin Ming, which attracted a lot of exclamations. After knowing that there were 3 Beast Emperors, and now there were 4 Beast Emperors, the Purple Elephant Emperor and the Dragon Rhinoceros Emperor were greatly shocked. Sect leader, here are the primordial stones you asked for. They've all been gathered. Not long after Su Yi came out of seclusion, Wang Zhengquan ran over and handed him a space bag. Su Yi opened it and saw countless primordial stones neatly placed inside. They were all 1-star primordial stones. 1 billion 1-star primordial stones. You've gathered them? Su Yi's heart relaxed. This was what he asked Wang Zhengquan to prepare for the Spirit Treasures Pavilion to repay their debt. However, he had only borrowed 3-star primordial stones. Now that it had become 1-star primordial stones, he didn't know if the Spirit Treasures Pavilion would have any objections. In fact, Su Yi was also very helpless about this. After all, only the surface of the mine was mined, and the primordial stones were all 1-star primordial stones. According to the results of Nangong Ningyue's later investigation, he knew that higher-grade primordial stones would inevitably appear. However, there was not much time left. It would be too late to repay the debt by then. It feels so good to have a mine at home. I can repay the debt so soon. Su Yi sighed with emotion. When he borrowed so many primordial stones, he had been worried for a long time. He couldn't think of any good way to repay the huge debt. Now that a primordial stone mine had been mined, he could repay the debt in less than 2 months. This didn't include the many resources prepared for the Leaf Fire Mystic Sun world. Big brother, I'm going to the Spirit Treasures Pavilion. I'll leave the mine to you. Su Yi and the others gathered in a large hall that had been opened up. He said to Merciless West, If you have something to do, go do it yourself. With me here, even if any second-rate force comes out in full force, we can still block them. Merciless West said, with the Mystic Gate illusory spirit world set up, coupled with a large amount of primordial stone's energy, Merciless West had enough confidence to defend this place. Even if an origin ancestor attacked, he wouldn't be afraid. Green Emperor, Yang Ming, Yin Ming, Devouring Spirit Emperor, the 4 of you stay in the mine. Purple Elephant Emperor, Dragon Rhino Emperor, return to the sect to guard. There needs to be experts there as well. Su Yi instructed again to arrange personnel. The mine was very important, and they couldn't afford to lose it. Therefore, he had to leave the strongest forces there. Under the leadership of his big brother, Merciless West, and the 4 Beast Emperors, they could definitely protect this place. Besides, the Bawang sect was also very important. Most importantly, the Bawang sect was currently recruiting people and expanding. If there weren't a few Beast Emperors in the sect, there might be some trouble. If the Purple Elephant Emperor and Dragon Rhino Emperor returned, along with the Black Turtle Emperor and Huang Jian, they would be able to defend even if a third-rate force attacked. Yes, Master. The Beast Emperors all agreed respectfully. Let's go back and take a look at the situation. After Su Yi gave a few more instructions, he didn't waste any more time in the mine. He brought Su Xiaoshui, the Purple Elephant Emperor, and the Dragon Rhino Emperor with him. They rode on the flaming winged demonic tiger and flew in the direction of the Bawang sect. The place where the Feng family village was originally located was very secluded and was a rare place. However, as the Bawang sect grew more and more people, the location would be exposed sooner or later. Therefore, Su Yi wanted to quickly expand the Bawang sect strength during this period of time and stabilize there. When the time came, he would ask his big brother, Merciless West, to set up the Phantom World. Everything would be in place. Maybe I can try the 1,000 Demons refining deity formation when I have time. Thinking of the Phantom World, Su-Yi couldn't help but think of the 1,000 demons refining deity formation. Last time, he had swallowed a total of 200,000 two-star essence stones, but the 10,000 demon refining god array was like a pool of stagnant water that had bubbled up. It seemed to be telling Su-Yi that this mystical gate, illusory spirit world was good. If it weren't for merciless West stopping him, Su-Yi would have thrown in another 100,000 or 200,000 two-star origin stones to make it work. However, now that he thought about it, the Bawang sect had a mind, and it wasn't an ordinary mind. Now, could he continue to experiment with 1,000 demons, refining deity formation? However, when he did the math, Su-Yi felt that the method of swallowing origin stones was a bit too much. Even if his family had a mind, it probably wouldn't be able to bear it. Thinking about it, he didn't know how rich the Tian Yao school had been back then. We're almost there. In less than a day's time, Su-Yi and the others had quickly covered more than half of the distance. At this moment, they saw a shocking scene. They saw many figures appearing and disappearing in the surrounding forest, looking extremely leisurely. At the same time, many people were enthusiastically discussing something with each other. As they walked forward, the closer they got to the Bawang sect, the more people there were. What's going on? Su-Yi and the others were stunned. They didn't know what was going on, and they didn't deliberately listen to the conversations of the people below. When they were close to the Bawang sect, the number of people gradually decreased until they disappeared. Sect Master. When Su-Yi and the others returned to the Bawang sect, Huang Jian and the Black Turtle Emperor immediately greeted them. Su-Yi didn't talk nonsense and asked about the recent situation. Huang Jian immediately reported everything to him. Recently, the Overlord sect has become a very popular sect. Many rogue cultivators have come to join us because of our reputation. In the past month or so, we've gone through a relatively strict selection process and accepted thousands of disciples. Huang Jian looked at Su-Yi and said, "There are still many rogue cultivators who are observing. We don't force them. Everything is voluntary, and they have to go through a strict selection process." Su-Yi couldn't help but nod. Thousands of people were already quite a number. It was also suitable for the Bawang sect's current scale. If there were more, it would be difficult to control. If you find good seedlings, you can nurture them and give them some positions. If the Bawang sect wants to get on the right track, these are all things that must be done. Su-Yi thought for a moment and said, "Elder Huang will be the first guardian of the Bawang sect. This has been decided long ago. In addition, the Bawang sect will set up a heavenly demon temple to rule over all the savage beasts in the Bawang sect. The Purple Elephant Emperor, the Dragon Rhinoceros Emperor, and the Black Turtle Emperor will temporarily be the three guardians of the heavenly demon temple. As for the others, they will be arranged in the future. The four of you emperors will oversee the sect and prevent any trouble. Also, I don't trust many people in the Bawang sect now. Most of them have been sent to the mines, and only the few of you are left. Therefore, there are many things that I have to rely on you to do. I'll have to trouble all of you during this period of time. When everything is settled, I'll naturally give you the treatment you deserve. When I'm not in the sect, you can arrange your subordinates' positions." "Yes, sect master." "Yes, master." Chapter 1148. The four Emperor-level powerhouses knew very well that Su-Yi had allowed them to arrange their own subordinates' positions, which meant that he had complete trust in them. The few of them understood that such power could not be used carelessly in their hands, especially Huang Jian, who was the only human-origin emperor guarding the Bawang sect. It could be said that all the disciples were under his command. If there were any mistakes in the personnel, there would definitely be trouble over time. The Bawang sect wants to expand, but there's no need to be rash. It's best to take it one step at a time. We have more and more people, and our corresponding mechanism has to keep up. These matters will be decided by you and set according to the same standards as other sections. Su-Yi said again. He already had some preliminary ideas in his heart, but he still needed to slowly implement them. For example, the large amount of resources mined from the primordial stone mine could be used to cultivate the disciples of the Overlord sect. Just like other forces, as long as the disciples served the overlord sect, they would be able to receive cultivation resources on a monthly basis. For outstanding people and those who made outstanding contributions to the sect, some rewards were also needed. In addition, there were some laws that needed to be perfected. A department similar to the punishment hall could be set up to restrain the disciples in the sect. However, Sui did not have any suitable subordinates to preside over this. I'm going out for a while. I'll have to trouble you with the matters of the Bawang sect. In the end, Sui did not stay in the sect for long and left with Su Xiaoshui. He did not even take the flaming winged devil tiger with him. After changing his appearance slightly, Sui forced Su Xiaoshui into his arms and stepped on the road. He was now a very famous person in the Chaos region. So many people had seen him in the Nine-Star City. Therefore, Sui wanted to keep a low profile, so he could only change his appearance and hide Su Xiaoshui. Boss, which city are we going to pay the debt? On the way, Su Xiaoshui could not help but poke his head out of Su Yi's arms and ask him, "Let's go to Sword Star City." Sui thought for a moment and said, Sword Star City was a city that he was relatively familiar with. Although there were other cities closer, Sui was not sure if the Spirit Treasure Pavilion would exist there. In addition, the 7-Star Sword School and the Gimdeo sect had been destroyed. The cities under these two forces must have been taken over by the Xinjian sect and the Liuhe sect. Sui also wanted to see the specific situation. To a certain extent, those cities belonged to the Bawang sect. When the Bawang sect gets on the right track, I'll have to take back the city as soon as possible. Sui thought to himself. Every city corresponded to a massive amount of income. Those third-rate sects mainly relied on cities to obtain large amounts of resources, allowing their sects to operate without hindrance. Now that those few cities were handed over to the Xinjian sect and the Liuhe sect to control, half of the income would definitely not be a small amount. However, Sui knew clearly in his heart that if it were not for the Xinjian sect and the Liuhe sect, the Bawang sect would probably only be able to watch those few cities fall into the hands of others. Therefore, the current situation was a win-win situation for both sides. Sui's speed wasn't very fast. He'd changed his appearance and looked to be a young man around the age of 23 or 24, and he didn't reveal his cultivation at the 5th level of the Origin Void stage. He'd only casually found an Origin Spirit stage flying demon beast to ride on. Along the way, he also encountered some sectless cultivators, but they did not have much interaction with each other. I'm almost there. After spending a total of 3 days, Sui finally saw the silhouette of Sword Star City from afar. He descended from the back of the demon beast and began to walk towards the city when he was a few miles away from the city gate. The area where the Bawang sect was at was the Demon Clan's territory. It was originally occupied by the Yin-Yang Underworld Emperor, the Devouring Spirit Emperor, the Purple Elephant Emperor, the Mysterious Turtle Emperor, the Dragon Rhinoceros Emperor, and many other beast emperors. The people from the surrounding forces would not easily step into the territory. However, the situation had changed now. Many people knew that Sui had subdued a few beast emperors, so that place was no longer as dangerous as before. Many people who wanted to rely on the Bawang sect had recently appeared in that area without a hitch. At that moment, Sui walked out of the Demon Clan's territory and arrived near the human city. He felt like a country bumpkin entering a city. Many figures were wandering around the city. There were all kinds of people. Let's enter the city directly. Sui did not stay outside the city for long. He quickly crossed the city gate and entered the city. Sword Star City was much more lively than the outside. It was not Sui's first time here, so he was slightly familiar with the place. Boss, are we going to the Spirit Treasures Pavilion to pay off the debt first? Su Xiaoshui secretly poked his head out and looked around. Let's go to the Spirit Treasures Pavilion first. There are still some spiritual herbs to be sold along the way. Sui nodded and immediately led Su Xiaoshui to the Spirit Treasures Pavilion. Not long after, the man and the bird stopped in front of the spacious shop. The business of the Spirit Treasures Pavilion is as good as ever. Sui saw many rogue cultivators lining up in front of the shop. They all wanted to enter the Spirit Treasures Pavilion to buy and sell items. The line stretched all the way to the street. However, Sui did not line up behind the crowd. He walked directly through the crowd, which attracted many dissatisfied voices. However, none of the rogue cultivators said anything. Instead, some people looked at Sui's back and sneered. How dare he cut the line at the entrance of the Spirit Treasures Pavilion? I don't know if he's ignorant or too bold. A faint sneer came from the crowd and entered Sui's ears. Everyone in the line agreed with this statement because everyone knew that the Spirit Treasures Pavilion was not to be trifled with. Most people who put on airs here would not have a good ending. Brother, please line up at the back. Sure enough, when Sui arrived at the entrance of the Lingbao Hall, a disciple of the Lingbao Hall in his 20s stopped him with an expressionless face. Although the disciple spoke politely, there was enough arrogance in his voice. This was the source of the Spirit Treasures Pavilion's confidence. When doing business, one had to be amiable, but at the same time, there were strict rules. The rogue cultivators lining up outside the door also laughed. In front of the Spirit Treasures Pavilion, only the strong had special privileges, and this young man had to line up at the back of the crowd obediently. However, in the next moment, everyone saw that the young man took out a black card and waved it in front of the Spirit Treasures Pavilion disciple. The Spirit Treasures Pavilion disciple was stunned at first. Then, as if he had seen a ghost, his eyes widened and his body trembled. I want to see shopkeeper Xiaoho, Sui said calmly. Please, sir, please. The Spirit Treasures Pavilion disciple recovered from his shock and immediately led Sui into the shop, no longer caring about the situation outside. The rogue cultivators lining up were also stunned on the spot, none of them understanding the situation. However, they quickly guessed one thing, and that was that the young man just now had a frightening identity. He was definitely not an ordinary person. Under the lead of the Spirit Treasures Pavilion disciple, Sui did not stop at the first floor at all and went straight to the top floor. Distinguished guest, please wait a moment. I will immediately invite the shopkeeper over to personally entertain you. The Spirit Treasures Pavilion disciple was somewhat nervous. Of course, he knew what the black card represented in the Spirit Treasures Pavilion. However, there were probably only a few people of that level in the entire 6 continents, 3 continents, and 1 sea. It was almost impossible for one to appear in this small Sword Star city. Who would have thought that he would meet one today, and such a young one at that, which caught him off guard? His previous negligence caused him to panic in his heart, but it was not good for him to beg for mercy. He could only sneak another glance at Sui before retreating. What the disciple did not know was that a few months ago, this young man had also come to the Spirit Treasures Pavilion once and showed the black card. However, at that time, it was shopkeeper Xiaoho who received him. His identity had been kept a secret, and there were very few people in the Spirit Treasures Pavilion who knew about it. It's so suffocating. When only Sui was left in the private room, Su Xiaoshui suddenly popped his head out from his arms. There was no one around. The muscles on Sui's face wriggled, and he removed the disguise technique and changed back to his original appearance. Since he had come to the Spirit Treasures Pavilion and showed the black card, his identity could not be hidden here. Distinguished guest, please excuse me for not going out to welcome you. After a while, an old man entered the private room. He cupped his hands and said to Sui, I am the shopkeeper of the Spirit Treasures Pavilion, Zhao Si. Distinguished guest, please tell me what you need. As he spoke, a look of surprise flashed across the old man's eyes. When he heard that someone came with a black card, he guessed that it was very likely to be Sui. He had seen this young man not long ago, and the huge storms in the Chaos region were almost all related to him. He could not help but sigh. Shopkeeper Zhao? Is Shopkeeper Xiao not here? Sui was stunned when he heard this and blurted out. The last time he came to the Spirit Treasures Pavilion, it was shopkeeper Xiaoho who received him. It had only been a few months, and the shopkeeper had changed. Distinguished guest, you may not know, but I have been a shopkeeper here for dozens of years. The last time I came here, it was just that Lord Xiaoho happened to come here for some business. He has already left. The old man who called himself Zhao Si chuckled and said to Sui, "Lord Xiaohou." Sui nodded. He had guessed before that shopkeeper Xiaohou was not so simple. He did not expect that the old man would call him Lord. It was obvious that his identity was not ordinary. "Distinguished guest, may I know what you need this time?" Zhao Si did not beat around the bush and asked directly. He looked at the young man in front of him and did not look down on him because of his young age. It should be known that it was this young man who had recently caused chaos in the Chaos region. In the Alliance Conference, many disciples of the powerful forces had suffered great losses at his hands. It had to be said that the shopkeeper of the Spirit Treasures Pavilion had a keen eye. He had discovered that this young man was not ordinary and had signed a black card to befriend him. Thinking about it now, it was really admirable. "The one-year deadline is almost up. I am here to repay my debt." Chapter 1149. Shopkeeper Zhao took the spatial bag and opened it to take a look. He was obviously slightly surprised. In Zhongzhou City, Su Yi had borrowed a large amount of origin stones from the Spirit Treasures Pavilion in order to bid for a strange wooden chest from the demon-subduing sect. Moreover, Su Yi had also come here to repay a small amount of origin stones last time. It's rumored that the Bawang sect recently discovered a origin stone mine. Looks like the rumors are true. Shopkeeper Zhao said with a smile after confirming the amount of origin stones. Under normal circumstances, a teenager without any powerful force to rely on would definitely not be able to repay the huge sum of 1 billion origin stones in a year. But now Su Yi had done it, and shopkeeper Zhao's heart throbbed. However, he quickly thought of the many recent rumors. It was said that many people in the Heavenly Spider sect were related to this matter. At that time, I borrowed more than 100,000 origin stones, but now I can only take out 1 origin stone to repay the debt. Do I need to make some additional compensation? Su Yi looked at the old man and asked. Everyone in the world knew that origin stones were rare, and high-grade origin stones were even more precious. For every grade of origin stone, its value would increase by 100-fold. This was a normal calculation method. However, no one would be willing to exchange a high-grade origin stone for a low-grade one, because the loss would not make up for the gains. Moreover, Su Yi had borrowed 3 origin stones at that time, and now he was using 1 origin stone to repay the debt. There was a difference of 2 grades. If the Spirit Treasures Pavilion asked him for additional compensation, or gave him a small portion of interest, it would be reasonable. For this, Su Yi had prepared a lot of origin stones on him. Ha ha! Hearing Su Yi's words, shopkeeper Zhao suddenly laughed heartily and said, "Honored guest, you're too polite. You have the Spirit Treasures Pavilion's black card, and your status is respected. Why would you need any compensation for such a small matter? According to the normal value, 1 billion origin stones is just right. I'll immediately hand over these origin stones, and all the debt you borrowed from the Spirit Treasures Pavilion will be considered paid." If that's the case, then many thanks. Su Yi was slightly surprised, but he still thanked him sincerely. He became more and more curious. Just what was the identity of the graceful lady called Lan Yelyan in the Relay City in the barbaric demon forest back then? She actually signed a black card for him, allowing him to have such great convenience in the Spirit Treasure Pavilion. Honored guest, you're too polite. Shopkeeper Zhao smiled again. I still have some things to sell. I'll have to trouble shopkeeper Zhao to help me estimate the price, and then exchange them all for other medicinal pills and herbs. I'll go downstairs to pick them myself. Su Yi retrieved another interspatial bag and handed it to shopkeeper Zhao. Inside were some pills and spirit herbs, all of which had been stored in mysterious space for a long time. Their grades had been greatly improved, and their value had also increased exponentially. I'll do it right away. Please wait for a moment. Shopkeeper Zhao took the 2 spatial bags and left. Su Yi didn't stay upstairs for long. Little handsome Su stood on his shoulder, and the 2 of them went down to the 3rd floor. So many star-grade pills and star-grade spirit herbs. There were many display counters on the 3rd floor. Bottles of medicinal pills were placed in the middle of them. There were also many jade boxes containing spirit herbs. All of them were the star grade. Moreover, they were all of the star grade. This made Sui very shocked. He had bought things in the Spirit Treasure Pavilion before, but when he saw such a scene on the third floor, he couldn't help but feel his scalp go numb. There were so many high-star grade pills and spirit herbs, and the Spirit Treasure Pavilion just put them up for sale. It was really not something that ordinary shops would dare to do. But then again, not just anyone could come up to the third floor. At this moment, Sui was the only one on the third floor. For ordinary warriors, it was impossible to buy pills and spirit herbs of this grade. Only those people from large forces or the experts among the rogue cultivators could buy them. Sui reckoned that there would only be experts occasionally coming to buy things on the third floor of the Spirit Treasure Pavilion. After all, this was only a small Sword Star city, and there weren't many true experts around. It was far from an existence like the Central Continent city. "I want all of these pills." Sui pointed at a few bottles of pills and said. It was a pity that although those spirit herbs were of high grade, they had all withered and couldn't be planted in the mysterious space. Yes, the disciple of the Spirit Treasure Pavilion who had led Sui and earlier followed behind him. He packed up all the things that Sui pointed at and began to calculate the total price. "These are all good things, but it's a pity that I can't afford too much." Sui curled his lips. Looking at the many pills and spirit herbs, his heart was itching. If these things were placed in the mysterious space, the overall effect would be raised to another level, and the value would increase by several times. Unfortunately, these things were very expensive. Even though Sui's family owned a mine, he didn't dare to buy too much. After all, only a small part of the mine had been mined. Sui thought to himself that it was time to prepare a large number of pills and spirit herbs. These would become part of the Bawang sect's foundation. If the Bawang sect wanted to expand, these were indispensable. There are even yellow grade pills. When Sui was walking around the third floor, he saw a cabinet in a corner. There was a bottle of pills in it, and it was called the Yellow Jade Yang pill. This kind of pill was usually consumed by high-level Origin Void Realm experts. It had a huge effect on breaking through to the Origin Emperor realm and could increase the chances of breaking through by 20%. Sui couldn't help but be speechless. It wasn't just because of the effect of the Yellow Jade Yang pill, but more so because of the price. 2,000 3-star Origin Stones. Sui was amazed that the price was so high. 2,000 3-star Origin Stones was equivalent to 20 million 1-star Origin Stones. Ordinary people couldn't afford it. Perhaps some experts juniors weren't talented enough and would choose this kind of pill to help them break through. "I'd better go to the second floor to take a look." Sui put handsome Sui back into his arms and walked down the stairs. Although the things on the third floor were good, it was unrealistic for Sui to buy them in bulk with his current financial resources. Moreover, he didn't need a pill like the Yellow Jade Yang pill. The others in the Bawang sect didn't need it either. The mysterious space and the effect of the spiritual liquid were definitely much better than this pill. After Sui went to the second floor, he chose a lot of pills and spiritual herbs that were still alive. VIP, you still have to pay the Spirit Treasures Pavilion another 10,000 2-star Origin Stones. When Sui was about to leave, shopkeeper Zhao appeared again and calculated all the accounts for Sui. Because of the black card, Sui sold the items at a very high price, and the items he wanted to buy were all greatly discounted. This was a treatment that others couldn't enjoy. Okay, Sui didn't calculate too seriously. He was still very confident in the reputation of the Spirit Treasures Pavilion. Because he had taken a few-star grade pills on the third floor, the value of the things he had given earlier was not enough to offset it. Sui didn't have 10,000 2-star Origin Stones. Almost all he had were 1-star Origin Stones. After paying 1 million 1-star Origin Stones, Sui changed his appearance again and left the Spirit Treasures Pavilion. Let's go to the City Lord's mansion to take a look. I don't know if the Xianjian sect or the Liuhe sect is in charge of the Sword Star City. Under the respectful escort of the Spirit Treasures Pavilion's disciples, Sui once again stepped onto the street. When he left, there were still a few rogue cultivators who had lined up to enter the Spirit Treasures Pavilion who had not yet entered. When they saw Sui walk out, these people immediately smiled bitterly and sighed that one really couldn't judge a book by its cover. "Boss, let's buy more seasoning. We haven't eaten meat for a long time." On the street, Sue-Yi walked slowly and was not in a hurry. Handsome Sue poked his head out from his collar and swallowed his saliva. "You only know how to eat. How good would it be if you put more energy into cultivation?" Sue-Yi pushed him back and said with a roll of his eyes. He knew that Handsome Sue was still thinking about what happened last time. The three beast emperors, the purple elephant emperor, the dragon rhinoceros emperor, and the mystic turtle emperor, were already on the stove with seasoning. They were roasted and stewed until they were almost cooked. Unexpectedly, the meat in front of his mouth flew away in the end. This made Handsome Sue depressed for a long time, so he had been complaining about eating meat recently. "Boss, I'm now at the second level of the Demon Monarch stage, and if I want to break through, I need to eat more." Handsome Sue poked half of his head out again and snorted in dissatisfaction. Sue-Yi was speechless after hearing this. He had to admit that Handsome Sue was telling the truth. Compared to his hard work and cultivation, Handsome Sue's breakthrough was simply too easy. When he broke through the threshold of the 5th level of the Origin Void stage on the Nirvana Dragon Arena, Sue-Yi thought that he was closer to Handsome Sue's level. Who would have thought that this guy would step into the 2nd level of the Demon Monarch stage in such a short time? Now, the gap between the two of them had become even wider. "I'm worse than a bird." Sue-Yi shook his head and smiled bitterly. The Phoenix bloodline was naturally powerful. This benefit was really enviable. He did not say anything else and really bought a lot of seasoning. Other than that, Sue-Yi also bought a large cauldron, which was very thick. He also found a craftsman who specialized in making ordinary tools to fit the cauldron with a thick lid, the kind that could be tightly fastened and sealed. This is a real pressure cooker. It'll be much more convenient to stew in the future. Sue-Yi was very satisfied and kept the cauldron. This was a trick that he came up with when he stewed the mystic turtle emperor last time. "Let's go to the city governor's estate." After everything was done, Sue-Yi went in the direction of the city governor's estate. Just as he was walking on the street with Handsome Sue, he suddenly saw two people fighting not far away, and some things on the street were damaged. It's a private fight in the city. All the damaged things must be compensated according to the price. A short while after the fight started, another group of people rushed over from afar. They were all dressed in the same uniform and surrounded the two people who were fighting in the middle. Chapter 1150. 13 broken green bricks. Compensation of 13 one-star primordial stones. With such a price, even Sue-Yi could not help but raise his eyebrows. The two of them had really suffered a huge loss this time. A broken green brick had to be compensated with a one-star primordial stone. How could this matter be justified? However, this was Sword Star City, the territory of a third-rate force. No one dared to go against their wishes. "What are you looking at? The City Lord's mansion has matters to attend to. Disperse." After the group of people were fined, they shouted at the surrounding crowd with an extremely arrogant expression. No one on the street dared to stay here. If they were to go against the City Lord's mansion, they would not have a good ending. They are not from the Xinjiang sect, nor are they from the Liyue sect. What is going on? Sue-Yi was suddenly puzzled. He looked at the attire of the group of young disciples. He had never seen them before. This made him feel very strange. Logically speaking, the Sword Star City should be under the control of the Xinjiang sect and the Liyue sect. Why would the people from the City Lord's mansion have different attires? Just as he was looking around curiously, the leader of the group of people suddenly turned his head and stared at Sue-Yi. "Kid, what are you looking at?" The leader was a young man of about 30 years old. His face was fat, and his eyes were staring fiercely at Sue-Yi. "Kid, get lost. Don't block the path of our fifth young master. Get out of the way, or else we won't be polite to you." Behind the young man, a few more people opened their mouths and shouted arrogantly. Sue-Yi immediately frowned. He was puzzled. He did not expect these people to be so arrogant and domineering. It's better to avoid trouble. Forget it, Sue-Yi thought to himself. Now that Sword Star City was his territory, there was no need for him to argue with these people. Moreover, this was the rule of the Chaos region. The only thing he needed was for Sue-Yi Yi to back down a little. As for his doubts, he would know everything when he reached the city lord's mansion. He made up his mind and moved his body slightly, wanting to make way for them. He didn't even circulate his origin chi as he quickly retreated into the distance. When the group of people from the city lord's mansion saw this scene, they were all stunned and felt very surprised. They originally wanted to find an excuse to find fault with that kid and make him suffer a small loss. They didn't expect that the other party's speed would be so fast. This was really a displeasing thing. When a young man in the lead saw this, a sneer appeared on his face. He suddenly launched a palm print and hit the bluestone slabs on the ground with a boom, shattering several bluestone bricks. "Brat, these 5 bricks were damaged by you. Compensate me with 5 one-star origin stones." After the young man finished his actions, he continued to walk towards Su-yi. At the same time, he extended his hand and waved it twice in front of Su-yi. "What?" Su-yi was stunned. There was such a thing? This was no longer an excuse to rob. This was clearly framing and framing. "Brat, are you deaf? You damaged 5 bricks. Compensate according to the price, which is 5 one-star origin stones. Quickly hand over the origin stones. Otherwise, don't blame us for being rude." The people behind the young man suddenly surrounded him. At the same time, someone in front sneered and shouted, "Brat, quickly take out the origin stones if you know what's good for you." The young man in the lead was called Wu Tianpeng. The fat on his face jiggled as he looked at Su-yi and said, he didn't know why, but he was a little unhappy with this kid. There were so many people on the street. When they saw the team from the city lord's mansion, they had to take a detour. Under his command, everyone was like a mouse that saw a cat. They couldn't hide in time. This kid, on the other hand, didn't have any expression the whole time. He was so calm that it made people's hair stand on end. This was also the main reason why Wu Tianpeng deliberately found trouble with him. People from the city lord's mansion, Su-yi slightly curled up the corner of his mouth and said indifferently, 5 one-star origin stones, right? I have a 2-star origin stone here. Give me 95 one-star origin stones." As he spoke, he took out a 2-star origin stone from his space bag and threw it in front of Wu Tianpeng. When Wu Tianpeng and the others saw this, their eyes instantly lit up. They didn't expect that this kid in front of them actually had a 2-star origin stone. This was really surprising. With excitement, Wu Tianpeng stretched out his hand. What a joke. If his 2-star origin stone fell into his hands, how could he give away 95 one-star origin stones? Those would definitely belong to him. However, when he stretched out his hand, he directly grabbed empty air. He pulled his hand back in time. "Kid, what are you doing?" Wu Tianpeng was a little angry. He felt like he was being played, and his heart was filled with anger. However, for the sake of the origin stones, he suppressed his anger and asked aloud, "You're from the city lord's mansion, right? I've never been there before. I want to take a look at the city lord's mansion. If you can bring me in, not only will I give you this 2-star origin stone, I can give you 10 more." He said as he tossed the origin stones in his hand again. Indeed, he didn't know the exact location of the city lord's mansion. In fact, it would be easy to find it if he asked around. However, at this time, there were people from the city lord's mansion here. Su-yi thought that it would be better to let them bring him there. 10 2-star origin stones. The people from the city lord's mansion were stunned again. They didn't expect that they would actually meet a tycoon today. "Kid, you're too presumptuous. What kind of place is the city lord's mansion? Is it a place that you can visit just because you want to?" In front of everyone, there was another young man beside Wu Tianpeng. After the initial excitement, he immediately calmed down and lightly shouted, "If they casually brought someone to visit the city lord's mansion, if something went wrong, they would be in big trouble. This kind of thing didn't dare to easily agree to." However, Wu Tianpeng immediately gave him a look, indicating that this young man shouldn't say anything more. "Brat, are you serious?" The fat on Wu Tianpeng's face trembled as he asked in a deep voice. "Of course." Su-yi smiled. He took out another 10 2-star origin stones and waved it in front of Wu Tianpeng and the others. In fact, Su-yi already had very few 2-star origin stones in his hands. There were only a few dozen left. The rest were all used up in the Leaf Fire Mystic Yang realm previously. Okay. Wu Tianping's small eyes shot out a strong light, and a warm and friendly smile appeared on his face. He said, "Little brother, please. I'll bring you to visit the City Lord's mansion now." Young Master Wu, when the young man beside him saw that Wu Tianpeng agreed, his heart sank. He wanted to stop him, but Wu Tianpeng glared at him and made him shrink back. Wu Tianpeng turned sideways and let Su Yi walk with him. Then, the people from the City Lord's mansion all followed behind. "Let's go." Su Yi didn't even look at Wu Tianpeng. He just walked in the direction of the City Lord's mansion openly. One ignorant brat. He actually dares to go to the City Lord's mansion with these people. In the distance, some people on the street heard the conversation between Su Yi and Wu Tianpeng and the others from afar. They couldn't help but murmur. "Don't say. He really has a lot of 2-star origin stones on him." He actually took out 11 2-star origin stones at once. There were also people who sighed with emotion. They felt that the brat just now was really rich. 11 2-star origin stones were equivalent to 1,101-star origin stones. This was absolutely a huge fortune for some loose cultivators below the origin spirit realm. It was enough to make many people jealous. So what if he has more 2-star origin stones? He doesn't even understand the principle of not leaking wealth. He's just a complete hothead. Now, he's being brought to the City Lord's mansion by those people. No matter how many things he has on him, he can't keep them. That's right. How can the City Lord's mansion be so easy to enter? Without the corresponding strength and background, he still dared to take the initiative to find them. This clearly shows that there's something wrong with his brain. Some people in the distance saw the situation just now. At this time, they all opened their mouths to discuss. They had rich experience and have been wandering in the Chaos region for a long time. They all knew the rules here. To put it bluntly, Sword Star City was a territory controlled by a third-rate force. Their purpose was to amass wealth and at the same time, provide a place for countless loose cultivators to barter. Under normal circumstances, the City Lord's mansion would not find trouble with them. However, once they were given an excuse, even if you were at the Origin Spirit realm, or even the Origin Void realm, you would have to behave yourself. No one had ever dared to take the initiative to provoke the City Lord's mansion. Whether it was under the control of the 7-star sword school in the past, or under the control of the Xinjiang sect now, it was the same principle. One could imagine that the kid had just revealed his wealth and took the initiative to go to the City Lord's mansion. He would definitely be robbed clean. If he was not careful, he might even lose his life. However, although this kind of strange thing was rare, this was the Chaos region. The people on the street did not think too much about it. After a few words of discussion, they dispersed. In fact, Wu Tianping's thoughts were exactly the same as those people's guesses. The City Lord Mansion was indeed not a place where they could casually bring people in. However, as long as they reached there, they could just casually give the kid charge. When the time came, wouldn't they be able to do anything to him? "We're here." Sword Star City was not big. The speed of Su Yi and the others was very fast. Not long after, they arrived at the City Lord's mansion. In front of him, a mansion that could barely be called grand appeared in front of him. It was built with green bricks and red tiles. The lintel was tall and wide. "Little brother, we've arrived at the City Lord's mansion." A total of 11 2-star origin stones. Standing outside the City Lord's mansion, Wu Tianpeng looked at Su Yi with a smile and stretched out a fat palm. "I said that I wanted to go in and take a look. I haven't even gone in yet." Su Yi curled his lips. It was impossible for him to give out 11 2-star origin stones. It was better to see who was in charge of this place first. If he really gave the young man the origin stones later, the other party would not dare take it. "Kid, don't fail to appreciate my kindness." Wu Tianping's face instantly turned gloomy. He stared coldly at Su Yi and shouted. Chapter 1151. Wu Tianpeng was clear that if he did not get the 11 origin stones before stepping into the City Lord's mansion, it would probably not fall into his pocket at that time. I've said it very clearly before. If you bring me into the City Lord's mansion, these 11 two-star origin stones will all belong to you. But now I haven't even gone in yet, and you're asking for origin stones from me. Do you think I'll give it to you? He raised his eyebrows and said as a matter of course, "Kid, you'd better be sensible. Otherwise, you'll suffer." Wu Tianping's face became extremely ugly, and his pair of fat fists also clenched tightly. They had already walked to the entrance of the City Lord's mansion. This kid definitely cannot escape, but it was best to get the origin stones first. Humph! If you don't bring me into the City Lord's mansion, then I'll go in myself. He glanced at the group of people beside him, then directly stepped out and walked towards the tall and wide entrance of the City Lord's mansion. When Wu Tianpeng and the rest saw this scene, they suddenly turned pale with fright. What kind of joke was this? If they let this kid take a step into the City Lord's mansion like this, once those lords above knew, then they would be punished. Seeing that he had already stepped out, Wu Tianpeng and the rest did not dare to delay and immediately chased after him. Everyone's origin chi surged, and one attack after another was instantly launched. All of them attacked Yi, vowing to capture him on the spot. As for the 11 origin stones, they could no longer care about it at this time. Walala! A large expanse of light swept out. It was a riot of colors, and there were all kinds of energy of different attributes. However, in the next instant, Wu Tianpeng and the rest only saw that kid's figure flashed, and then all of their attacks directly blasted elsewhere. Rumble! A majestic and robust stone lion at the entrance of the City Lord's mansion was turned into fine powder in the blink of an eye under these forces. A thick and solid pillar was also directly shaken off, and immediately smoke and dust rose everywhere. Oh no! Seeing such a scene, the hearts of Wu Tianpeng and the people behind him sank to the bottom. How are they going to explain this to those lords? Looking again at the kid from before, he had already rushed to the entrance and directly stepped in. Quickly chase! Wu Tianpeng and the others broke out in cold sweat and chased after him without stopping. They were all panicking in their hearts. They did not expect that an ordinary-looking brat would actually be so powerful. He could calmly escape from so many of them. Who dares to trespass into the City Lord's mansion? He had just stepped through the gates of the City Lord's mansion when a shout rang out from within. Soon after, dozens of figures flashed over and quickly landed in front of him. The commotion outside had attracted the attention of these people. So, it is Xianjian faction that is guarding this place. He stopped in his tracks. He saw that some of the people in front of him were dressed in the style of Xianjian faction. Among them, there were a few familiar faces. The other group of people wore the same clothes as the people behind them. Who are you? Dozens of people surrounded Yi in the middle. The leading disciple of Xianjian faction shouted. Yi didn't answer. His facial muscles wriggled, and he returned to his original appearance. At this time, Wu Tianpeng and the others had already caught up from outside. When they saw this scene, they were stunned. This guy's technique. Wu Tianpeng was shocked. He had heard of this technique before, but it was not something that ordinary people could do. He did not expect this brat to know how to do it. What surprised him even more was that the person standing in front of him was only a teenager of 16 or 17 years old. He was almost half his age. Can I come out now? I'm almost bored to death. A crisp voice of a child could be heard from Yi's arms. After Little Handsome, stuck his head out. He quickly flew out and landed on Yi's shoulder. Beast! Beast, empty realm? Wu Zhangpeng and the people behind him felt their scalps go numb. A little bird that could talk was too scary. Cold sweat rolled down their foreheads. This young man actually had a demonic, illusionary realm, barbaric, demonic beast accompanying him. At this moment, these people all felt an extreme sense of lingering fear. If this young man wanted to, they would have died 100 times on the street just now. Faction leader Su. After Yi returned to his original appearance, a disciple of Xianjian's sect recognized him immediately. This disciple had been to 9-Star City with him before. However, he was not very strong and did not participate in the alliance meeting. That was why he could recognize Yi at first glance. "Oh, faction leader Su is here. Please, please." The disciple waved his hand and signaled the dozens of people around him to make way for Su. "All right," Su Yi nodded. Without the slightest hesitation, he immediately walked over. The disciple from Xianjian faction who spoke earlier quickly ran after Chen Xiaobei and led him to a huge hall in front of him. The remaining dozens of people looked at his back and watched as the two of them left. "Faction leader Su? Which faction leader Su is this?" Wu Tianpeng was suddenly at a loss. He realized that the young man's identity was not simple, but the word sect master Su made him confused. One of the Xinjian sect's disciples glanced at him and said in disdain, "You don't even know who faction leader Su is? Are all of you Crimson Tiger sect useless?" After hearing what he said, Wu Tianpeng was even more confused. However, he did not dare to talk back to the Xinjian sect's disciples. However, at this moment, another Xinjian sect's disciple suddenly exclaimed in admiration. At the same time, he said with envy, "He's only 17 years old, and he's already a faction leader with a cultivation base of 5th level Origin Void stage. Faction leader Su is really terrifying. If only I had half of his talent." That's right. The 7-star Sword School and Gimdeo sect were easily annihilated by him. Even the Heavenly Dipper sect who came here aggressively had to return empty-handed in the end. Faction leader Su's name will definitely shake the entire Chaos region in the future. Another Xinjian sect's disciple said, "There's no need to wait until the future. In the current Chaos region, who doesn't know faction leader Su's name? Who doesn't know about him?" Someone continued to say, "Zed Original Edition in Premier ***." After hearing these words, Wu Tianpeng and the people behind him were stunned. After listening to the last part, a thought flashed across Wu Tianpeng's mind. He slapped his thigh and said, "Could this faction leader Su be the champion of the Alliance Conference, the faction leader of the Bawang sect, Su Yi?" After he finished speaking, it was as though he was struck by lightning. He was stunned and did not move at all. There was no need for anyone to confirm it. Wu Tianpeng was certain that this was the truth. In just a split second, all of the Crimson Tiger sect's disciples, including him, could not help but tremble. Endless fear rose in their hearts. When they recalled what they had done today, it was as though they were provoking the Almighty. They were completely digging their own graves. Wu Tianpeng was in a daze. He must have eaten lard to blind him. How could he offend such a person? At the thought of this, the fear in his heart continued to surge. He was so shocked that he did not notice the looks of disdain from the Xinjian sect's disciples. One of the Xinjian sect's disciples suddenly asked, "What was that commotion outside?" Upon hearing this, Wu Tianpeng's scalp tensed up. Of course, he knew what the disciple was talking about. The huge stone lion and the thick pillar outside the governor's mansion had been destroyed. This was something that could not be hidden. If it was just to deal with ordinary people, it would be fine. At most, they would compensate according to the price. Those things were not worth much anyway. However, he could not tell these people from Xinjian sect that they were trying to capture the faction leader of the Bawang sect, Su Yi. Just now, Wu Tianpeng stammered, unable to say anything. His entire body was soaked in sweat. Under the lead of the Xinjian sect's disciples, Su Yi quickly entered the main hall. "Faction leader Su, please take a seat. I will immediately inform Elder Lu to come over." The Xinjian sect's disciple arranged a seat for Su Yi and asked the waiter to serve tea. After that, he quickly left. Not long after, an old man in his 50s with hair as black as ink walked in from the main door. He cupped his fists at Su Yi and said, "Faction leader Su, welcome. Please forgive me for not coming out to meet you." "Elder Lu, you don't have to be so polite." Su Yi replied with a bow. He could tell that Elder Lu was indeed very polite. Su Yi had never seen this person before. However, after sensing for a while, he could tell that the other party's cultivation level was around the beginner level of the Origin Emperor realm. He was suitable to be an elder of Xinjian sect. The two of them exchanged some pleasantries. Elder Lu also informed Su Yi that he was the current governor of Sword Star City. Faction leader Su has already told me that Sword Star City belongs to Bawang's sect. Our Xianjian sect is only temporarily managing it. Therefore, I will not be overly courteous with faction leader Su. Elder Lu was also a straightforward person. He immediately said to Su, actually, sect leader Ji had previously gone to Bawang's sect to look for faction leader Su. However, Bawang's sect seems to have moved to another location. I wonder. He looked at Su Yi and was puzzled. Is there such a thing? Su Yi was stunned. It turned out that Ji Tianfu had actually gone to look for him. He said to Elder Lu, Bawang's sect has indeed moved to another location. However, I have not had the time to inform Xianjian sect and Liu's sect. However, I wonder if sect leader Ji was looking for me for something important? As an ally, Su Yi felt that it was necessary for him to let Xianjian sect and Liu's sect know about his new location so that they could trust him. Otherwise, if something big happened and they could not even find him, it would be really awkward. It's not a big deal. Elder Lu laughed heartily. He took out a spatial bag and passed it to Su Yi. He said, this is half of the resources that the 7-star sword school collected from the 3 cities. Is the Bawang sect's share. Since the sect leader could not find Bawang's sect, he left these with me. Now, I can pass them to faction leader Su. Su Yi immediately took it and opened it. Good heavens! There were millions of 2-star vitality stones neatly arranged inside. Other than that, there were also many elixirs and spiritual herbs. Chapter 1152. One had to admit that the income of a third-rate sect was indeed considerable. The amount of resources was enough to cover their expenses for a long time. Originally, there were a total of 3 cities under the 7-star sword sect, and the income within them was considerable. After the 7-star sword school was annihilated, they collected so many resources. It was indeed a delightful income. Su Yi thought to himself, if I were to sell all 3 cities, how many origin stones would it be worth? Sect leader Su, this income is nothing. There will be more benefits in the future. With the 3 cities added together, we should be able to provide this amount of resources every year, Elder Lu said with a smile. Su Yi nodded. Every year, they would be able to provide a large amount of resources. It was an endless stream of wealth. Therefore, if he wanted to sell a city, he would be walking into a dead end. Su Yi now had the ermine in his hands. If he really needed origin stones, a few cities added together wouldn't be able to match up to a corner of the rich ermine. Thank you, Elder Lu. After keeping the space bag, Su Yi was in a good mood. He reckoned that he would make a trip to the 2 cities that were originally under Gimdeo's sect. He reckoned that Lu Hei's sect must have plundered quite a lot of benefits. Oh yeah, is there any other force that is managing Sword Star City together with Xianjian sect? Su Yi suddenly asked curiously. It was because the young disciples that were patrolling the streets earlier weren't from Xianjian sect. It was a little strange. Elder Lu smiled bitterly and said, Sect leader Su, you don't know. Our Xianjian sect already has 3 cities to manage. It would be a little strenuous to manage another 3 cities. Therefore, we recruited a few 4th or 5th-rate forces to help and shared some benefits with them. In the end, we still don't have enough manpower. If we send out too many people, there won't be anyone to guard the sect. I see, Su Yi understood. Those people in Sword Star City were originally from Crimson Tiger sect. The Crimson Tiger sect's ability isn't weak. Their sect leader, Zhuang Changrun, is at the 1st level of Origin Emperor stage. He isn't weak at all. Now, he has agreed to be an elder in Xianjian sect. The Crimson Tiger Gang's vice gang leader, Wu Pingliang, is at the 7th level of the Origin Void stage, and he assumes the position of vice city governor in Sword Star City, said Elder Lu. Su Yi nodded again. Having an Origin Emperor realm and an Origin Void realm overseeing a city was also a sign of great importance. If one were to count, there were not many elites like this left in Xianjian faction. I came here this time to see how the Sword Star City is doing. I took a stroll on the street earlier, and everything is still in order, Su Yi said with a smile. Don't worry, faction leader Su. We, Xianjian faction, We'll be managing the 3 cities for the time being. We want to reap some benefits as well. Naturally, we will not mess this up, Elder Lu said. All right, may I know what Sect Master Ji has been busy with recently? Su Yi suddenly asked. In fact, he wasn't thinking about Ji Tianfu, but Ji Han Nua. He didn't know what was going on either. Recently, he had been thinking about that lady. It was very strange. Hearing Su Yi's question, Elder Lu's expression immediately became serious. He looked around and saw that there were no outsiders inside or outside the hall. Then, he said to Su Yi seriously, I was just about to talk to Faction Leader Su about this. Previously, when Sect Master went to look for Faction Leader Su, other than wanting to bring the Bawang sect share of the profits, he wanted to invite the Bawang sect to join forces with Xianjian sect and Liuhe sect to exterminate the Green Sanctuary sect. Green Sanctuary sect. Su Yi's expression turned serious. Speaking of which, he had some grudges with the Green Sanctuary sect. Coincidentally, there were only a few third-rate forces in this area. The 7-Star Sword School and Gimdeo sect had been exterminated. The Sky Spider sect, which was slightly further away from here, had also been wiped out by the Bawang sect. Now, only the Green Sanctuary sect was still a hindrance. Su Yi also knew that Xianjian sect and the Green Sanctuary sect had an unresolved grudge. Previously, the Green Sanctuary sect had ordered the Sea Dragon Gang to kidnap Jihan Nua in order to deal with Xianjian sect. However, he had ruined the plan. Recently, the Green Sanctuary sect has been harassing Xianjian sect. If it wasn't for the fact that he had to take care of the 6 cities, Sect Master would have brought people to fight with them long ago. Fortunately, with the help of Liuhe's sect, the Green Sanctuary sect didn't cause too much trouble to us. Elder Lu said. Suddenly, he revealed a strange expression and said, However, it's been very strange recently. The Green Sanctuary sect has inexplicably given up on harassing us. They have become very obedient. I don't know what happened. Su Yi frowned and murmured, There must be something wrong when things are out of the ordinary. Could it be that they are up to something bad? Su Yi couldn't figure it out, no matter how hard he thought about it. However, he didn't think too much about it. He only said, When I see Sect Master Ji, I will discuss with him about this. A small Green Sanctuary sect has been jumping around too much. They should be destroyed. As he spoke, there was a murderous aura. Elder Lu's expression turned cold. He was shocked by this young man's aura. If it was someone else who said this, he might find it hard to believe. Even if Sect Master Ji and Sect Master Lin of Liuhe sect spoke at the same time and said that they wanted to destroy the Green Sanctuary sect, it was still a matter worth discussing. After all, the Green Sanctuary sect's strength was not weak. Under the situation where there was no absolute expert to suppress them, if Xianjian sect and Liuhe sect worked together to destroy them, they would definitely have to peel off a layer of skin. As for Bawang sect, this matter was too easy. The 7-Star Sword School and Gimdeo sect were examples of what had happened. Su Yi and Elder Lu chatted for a while. Not long after, he cupped his hands and said, Elder Lu, if there's nothing else, I will take my leave first. I will have to trouble you to worry about everything in Sword Star City. It's my duty. Elder Lu politely returned the greeting. Then, he personally stood up to send Su Yi off, all the way to the main gate of the City Lord's mansion. Su Yi and Elder Lu were stunned by the scene they saw when they stepped out of the door. Sect Master Su, I have eyes but failed to recognize Mount Tai. I have offended you. Please punish me, Sect Master Su. 10 figures knelt on the ground outside the door in a row. The one in the middle was Wu Tianpeng. These people were all trembling with fear. Their bodies were like sifting chaff. Su Yi Bawang sect. Everyone in Chaos region knew about him. He was an overbearing person who dared to chase and kill the most outstanding disciple of a first-rate force. He was a ruthless person who didn't show any fear in front of the sect master of a second-rate force. And they had offended such an overlord before. Wu Tianpeng thought for a long time. He felt that he couldn't change his mistake by running away. He might be able to redeem himself if he admitted his mistake. Otherwise, even if Su Yi didn't deal with them, the people from Xianjian sect would definitely make things difficult for them in the future. What's going on? Before Su Yi could say anything, Elder Lu's face changed. The aura of the Yuan Emperor realm suddenly filled the air as he asked in a cold tone. Wu Tianpeng was the son of the current deputy city lord, Wu Pingliang. His talent and strength were considered decent. However, he didn't expect this guy to offend Su Yi. This made him furious. However, Su Yi waved his hand and stopped Elder Lu, indicating for him to calm down. I don't blame you. Get up. Su Yi looked at the shattered stone lions and pillars and said to the people who were kneeling on the ground. Wu Tianpeng and the rest didn't move for a long time. Hearing Su Yi's calm words, they couldn't help but feel more fearful. Secmaster, Su asked you to get up. Are you deaf? Elder Lu immediately shouted coldly. Thank you, Secmaster Su. Wu Tianpeng and the rest trembled as they stood up shakily. Their legs were still shaking. It's just a small matter. Since we're all on the same side, there's no need to be calculative. Su Yi said to Elder Lu with a smile. He then looked at Wu Tianpeng and the rest and said, the rule of Chaos Region is that the strong are respected. This principle is true, and I agree with it. However, we control a city so that we can earn more benefits. These benefits come from the rogue cultivators and people from small forces who come and go in the city. In other words, the more people there are in the city, the more benefits we will get. Therefore, when we patrol in the future, we don't have to go overboard. That will only make people afraid to enter the city. In this way, we will be the ones who will lose the most. Not only Wu Tianpeng, but the disciples of Xinjian sect and Elder Lu also fell into deep thought after hearing Su Yi's words. The more they thought about it, the more they felt that it made sense. Elder Lu, I'll take my leave first. Su Yi didn't stay any longer. He cupped his hands and left with handsome Su. With the experience of his previous life, Su Yi naturally knew that the more people there were, the more money he could make. He liked the rules of Chaos Region. It was chaotic, full of killing and fighting. Everything depended on strength. It was suitable for the rise of the Bawang sect. However, at the end of the day, it was better to have some stable rules when running a city. After all, they were here to make money. Take Wu Tianpeng's actions as an example. If it were any other martial artist who had suffered such a huge loss, they probably wouldn't come to Sword Star City in the future. Su Yi couldn't be bothered to argue with Wu Tianpeng and the rest. After all, they were now part of Xinjian sect. This faction leader Su is really different from the rest. After seeing Su Yi leave, Elder Lu stood at the same spot for a long time. Finally, he muttered to himself. He had heard too many legends about Su Yi. However, this was the first time he had come across him. He felt that this young man was extraordinary and had his own unique rules. Chaos Region was a place where the fittest survived. Strength was everything. He used his absolute strength and talent to crush his peers. He was the hero among the heroes. In terms of management, Su Yi's theory was very novel. It was worth thinking about carefully. It seems like we have to change the rules slightly in the future. Running a city is not as simple as running a business and collecting taxes. After pondering for a while, Elder Lu turned around and returned to the governor's mansion. The group of disciples from Xinjian sect and Crimson Tiger faction dispersed as well. Chapter 1153. Su Yi left Sword Star City and walked into the endless forest. He did not plan to visit the remaining 2 cities that Xinjian faction was in charge of. After all, he had obtained all the benefits that he deserved. Boss, Xinjian faction is really loyal to their friends. Su Xiaoshui was once again placed in Su Yi's arms. He popped his head out and laughed. Why are you laughing? What are you planning this time? Su Yi rolled his eyes and said, Xinjian faction was indeed loyal. Su Yi had already noticed this after the incident outside the secret realm of ominous spirits. Even when they were faced with a strong enemy like Tiangang faction, Ji Tianfu did not hesitate to stand in front of him. However, Su Yi instinctively felt that there was more to handsome Su's words than met the eye. Coupled with the smirk on his face, Su Yi could tell that handsome Su was implying something. No matter how bad I am, I can't be as bad as you. Su Xiaoshui mumbled unhappily. What did you say? Su Yi glared at him. Nothing. I mean, that Su Xiaoshui immediately changed his tone and said that, Boss, you got so many spiritual medicine this time. Can you share some with me? He raised his head and looked at Su Yi. He was almost drooling. You glutton, are you thinking about my spiritual medicine again? Su Yi fell helpless. Su Xiaoshui was really a glutton. However, it was true that he could break through by eating. This was something that Su Yi could not compare with. Su Xiaoshui laughed. Take it and eat it. This is all I have. There will be no more after you finish it. Su Yi thought about it, and finally took out a bunch of spiritual medicine from his infinite space bag and gave it to Su Xiaoshui. These spiritual medicine were all dried up, but their medicinal properties were still there. However, they could not be planted in the mysterious infinite space. Thank you, boss. Su Xiaoshui was elated. He hugged the spiritual medicine with his two wings and began to chew on it happily. Su Yi shrugged and smiled bitterly. One man and one bird continued on their journey. Su Yi planned to go to the Liuhe sect to take a look at the situation. The two cities of the Gimdeo sect were now in their hands. He should be able to gain something from this trip. It took Su Yi and Su Shui more than a day to reach Jinyang City, which was one of the two cities mentioned by the emperor. Coincidentally, the young sect master of Six Unity Sect, Lin Donghao, was personally overseeing this place. There was also an elder who was at the second-level origin emperor realm as the city lord. The share that the Liuhe sect had given to the Bawang sect had all been in the hands of the primitive emperor realm elder and also given to Su Yi. What a coincidence. It saves me a lot of trouble. After making a trip to Sword Star City and then to Golden Sun City, it just so happened that the shares given to him were in these two places. This was indeed a coincidence. Su Yi obtained more than 600,000 two-star origin stones this time, in addition to many other resources. The Gimdeo sect was originally much weaker than the 7-star sword school, so there was a gap in wealth. The wealth collected from the two cities was only about 60% of the Sword Star City and other cities, but Su Yi was already very satisfied. He didn't stay in Golden Sun City for long. After catching up with Lin Donghao for a while, he left. The matter of this trip had been settled. The debt of the Spirit Treasure Pavilion had been paid off. He also obtained more than 1 million two-star origin stones and many spiritual medicine and other resources. It was a fruitful trip. Boss, let's have a meal to celebrate this big harvest. On the way back, handsome Su said to Su Yi hopefully, You only know how to eat. Su Yi glared at him. This guy had already finished the spiritual medicine given to him before. At this time, he was thinking about eating meat again and even found an excuse to celebrate. For the sake of eating, this guy could be considered to have done everything. Although Su Yi scolded him, he still killed a barbaric beast that took the initiative to attack them along the way. After that, he made a barbecue. Handsome Su ate until his mouth was full of oil, and he was very satisfied. The return trip was very fast. Su even found a bird-type barbaric beast in the Demon True realm and directly tamed it as a mount. He quickly flew back to the Bawang sect. After a few days, the scenery gradually became familiar. Let's go directly to the mine. I wonder if anything happened these days. Under Su Yi's instructions, he flew towards the mine and soon arrived. Just as Su Yi was about to enter the mine, according to the Leaf Fire Mystic Sun Realms array, there was a powerful fluctuation in the air behind him. Layers of invisible waves rolled over. Screech! A sharp screech was heard. Su Yi turned his head and saw a big bird flying over quickly from afar. Its wings were hundreds of feet wide, and its aura was extremely fierce. Under the aura of the big bird, the mount under Su Yi's feet immediately trembled in panic. If he didn't use the Origin Supreme technique, this mount would have fallen from the void in panic. A high-level barbaric beast in the Demon Void realm. Su Yi looked at it and knew the cultivation level of the big bird. However, this was not the most eye-catching part. What made his eyes twitch was that there were more than a dozen experts standing on the back of the giant bird. Every one of them had a profound aura, and it was obvious that they were experts at a glance. Boss, look, Luo Jing and Jin Zhu from the Celestial Spider Sect are also here. Handsome Su said. He saw that among the crowd on the back of the big bird, there were 2 Origin Emperor experts from the Celestial Spider sect. 15 experts, and they all seemed to be Origin Emperors. What a show. With so many experts here, they must be here to cause trouble. Su Yi's face darkened. These people didn't seem to have good intentions. Luo Jing and Jin Zhu had threatened Su Yi earlier. They said that even if they couldn't get the mine, they wouldn't let it fall into the hands of the Bawang sect, even if it attracted the intervention of a second-rate force. Looking at the scene in front of them, they seemed to have attracted a powerful force. One look, and I can tell that you're up to no good. However, if you want to put on airs in front of the Bawang sect, then you've definitely come to the wrong place. Handsome Su stood on Su Yi's shoulder. Suddenly, a mysterious energy fluctuation spread out from his body, accompanied by an overwhelming pressure. It carried the aura of a supreme beast and suddenly swept towards the big bird. Screech, the big bird let out a shrill cry, and its body tilted, falling straight down from the void. Now that Handsome Su's cultivation was already at the Demon Emperor realm, the big bird was only at the Demon Void realm. A little pressure could easily suppress it. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. However, the cultivation of the 7 or 8 people on the back of the big bird was very strong. All of them flew up immediately and didn't fall from the void. From afar, Su Yi could see that the expressions on the faces of the 7 or 8 people had become extremely ugly. They seemed to be very angry. Brat, did you do that just now? The 8 people were very strong. Soon, they landed 200 feet away from Su Yi and Handsome Su. One of the old men who looked like a wild lion said in a deep voice. He stared directly at Su Yi and Handsome Su. At the same time, the aura of a high-level Origin Emperor burst out. It was like a wave crashing towards Su Yi and Handsome Su, trying to intimidate them directly. However, Su Yi's primeval Chaos Supreme was able to easily resist this aura. As for Su Xiaoshui, he simply ignored this aura. Such a scene surprised the old man. He didn't expect that the man and the bird couldn't be suppressed by him. Something must have gone wrong. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. At this moment, several figures rushed out of the mine. The 4 Beast Emperors, Green Emperor, Yang Ming, Yin Ming, and Devouring Spirit Emperor, appeared together. Master, seeing Su Yi, the Beast Emperors all bowed respectfully. Su Yi nodded in response. Brat, didn't you hear what I asked you just now? Seeing that Su Yi didn't answer his question immediately, the old man who looked like a wild lion just now glared at him and shouted in a deep voice. As soon as they arrived, they suffered a loss, and even their mounts fell from the sky. Now, they were ignored by a young man. This made the old man furious. He released a strong wave of vitality energy again and wildly surged. He wanted to put the brat in his place again. How dare you? This is my Bawang sect's territory. You have no right to behave atrociously. The Green Emperor shouted. In a flash, he stood in front of Su Yi. The aura of an 8th-level Demon Emperor surged out, forming a terrifying storm that collided with the old man's aura. A huge energy vortex appeared in the void, carrying a sharp whistling sound as it tore through the air. The Berserk Lion Elder shuddered and was forced to take 5 steps back. The Green Emperor, on the other hand, was still standing on the same spot and staring at him coldly. Such a scene made the expressions of the 8 experts change. They were shocked by the Green Emperor's strength. Elder Jean, let's get down to business first. The Wild Lion old man was about to continue attacking, but at this moment, he was stopped by a black-clothed old man. He snorted and stopped. Is this young man the sect leader of the Bawang sect? I think his name is Su something. Seeing that the Wild Lion old man was no longer impulsive, the black-clothed old man tilted his head slightly and glanced at the sect leader of the Heavenly Spider sect, Luo Jing, from the corner of his eye. He asked softly, Elder Zhou, his name is Su Yi. It's this kid. Luo Jing stood respectfully in front of the black-clothed old man and pointed at Su Yi. Oh, I remember now. His name is Su Yi. The black-clothed old man called Elder Zhou nodded slightly. Then, He raised his head and looked at Su Yi from the corner of his eye. He had a condescending attitude. Luo Jing immediately took a step forward and looked at Su Yi. He snorted and said, "Kid, this is Elder Zhou of the Jade Tripod Alchemy Sect, and this is Elder Jean. Hurry up and greet them." Su Yi curled the corner of his mouth and said disdainfully, "I knew it. Last time, the two of you ran away like dogs. Why do you still dare to come over now? So it's because you're relying on the Jade Tripod Alchemy Sect." Chapter 1154. Su Yi naturally knew about the Jade Tripod Alchemy Sect. It was one of the 7 second-rate forces in the Chaos region, and its strength seemed to be about the same as the Heavenly Dipper Sect. Previously, in the Alliance Conference, Su Yi had interacted with a young expert named Lu Zhuo from the Jade Tripod Alchemy Sect in the Zhaoling Mystic Realm. As for the deeper level of entanglement, the two sides had not yet. Kid, being looked down upon by Su Yi, Luo Jing was anxious. He was about to argue with him, but he was stopped by Elder Zhou again. "Kid, this old man won't talk too much nonsense with you. Today, we are here to bestow upon you a great opportunity. I hope that you and your Bawang sect can seize it and not miss it easily." Elder Zhou still raised his head and looked at Su Yi with his eyes raised. As he spoke, he also stretched out a finger and gestured. "Oh, what opportunity!" Hearing this, Su Yi could not help but be curious and could not help but ask in return. However, he sneered in his heart. The Jade Tripod Alchemy Sect would probably not bring him any benefits. Moreover, Su Yi was very disgusted. This old man's completely arrogant appearance made him feel very unhappy. However, Su Yi still decided to listen to what the other party had to say first. "Our Jade Tripod Alchemy Sect has heard a lot about you and the Bawang Sect. In addition, we also know about the life-and-death feud between the Heavenly Dipper Sect and you. With the strength of the Bawang Sect, once the true experts of the Heavenly Dipper Sect come out, you will definitely not be able to withstand them. However, our Jade Tripod Alchemy Sect can protect you and the Bawang Sect from the attacks of the Heavenly Dipper Sect." Elder Zhou paused for a moment. He stretched out a finger again and gestured. "The condition is also very simple. Just take out the mineral deposit behind you. Of course, the Jade Tripod Alchemy Sect will definitely not let you suffer a loss. We will just split it 9-10. Not only Su Yi, but the Green Emperor, Yang Ming, Yin Ming, the Devouring Spirit Emperor, and Little Handsome Su were all stunned. The Jade Tripod Alchemy Sect actually said that they wanted to protect the Bawang Sect. This was really something that they did not expect. Moreover, even though Elder Zhou wished that his eyes could grow on top of his head, what he said before was not false. If the Bawang Sect really had the protection of the Jade Tripod Alchemy Sect, he would indeed not be afraid of the Heavenly Dipper Sect. However, as for 9-1 split 9-1, that's not a problem at all. Without waiting for anyone to think too much, Su Yi immediately beamed with joy and said happily. The scene suddenly fell silent. The 6 people from the Jade Tripod Alchemy Sect, as well as Luo Jing and the Golden Spider, did not react in time. This was something that had been discussed in the Jade Tripod Alchemy Sect. They had originally wanted to directly attack the Bawang Sect and take down the mine. However, with the example of the Heavenly Dipper Sect returning in defeat, they did not want to cause too much conflict. If they could easily resolve it and successfully take down the mine without expending a single soldier, it would naturally be the best thing. In fact, the Jade Tripod Alchemy Sect had already made plans. Perhaps the Bawang Sect would bargain, and they would also relax a little and give a little more share. They would treat it as an investment in advance. After all, Su Yi's talent was really extraordinary, and his future was limitless. However, what everyone present did not expect was that Su Yi would actually agree to Elder Zhou's request without hesitation. Instead, it caught them off guard. Master, Green Emperor, Yang Ming, and the others were all dumbfounded. If it were them, they would not agree to such a request. They did not expect their master to agree to it. Green Emperor and the others opened their mouths and wanted to say something, but they were all interrupted by Su Yi with a wave of his hand. After Elder Zhou was stunned at first, the corners of his mouth slowly curled up. He raised his head even higher and nodded in satisfaction. At least you know what's good for you. He glanced at Su Yi and felt that this youth had become somewhat pleasing to the eye. Su Yi rubbed his hands as if he was very excited. He said, the Jade Tripod Alchemy sect should also know that the prenatal stones in this mine are very rich. Once they are mined, it will be a huge fortune. As he spoke, he unconsciously glanced at Luo Jing. The other party must have reported this situation to the Jade Tripod Alchemy sect. There's so many prenatal stones. Take out 10% to give to the Jade Tripod Alchemy sect in exchange for a powerful backer that can protect the Bawang sect and block the Heavenly Dipper sect for us. This is definitely a good deal. Only a fool wouldn't do it. So he continued. Hearing this, the scene once again fell into a short silence. Everyone looked at the excited youth with strange gazes. Kid, don't be mistaken. Our Jade Tripod Alchemy sect wants 90%. That 10% is for your Bawang sect. Elder Zhou's eyes bulged as he suddenly snorted and said, unconsciously, the corners of his mouth curled up into a cold smile. The way he looked at Su Yi was also filled with mockery. In front of the Jade Tripod Alchemy sect, a small Bawang sect dared to ask for 90% of the mineral deposits? Who gave him the guts? Of all the people present, perhaps only this young man would think this way. What? Didn't we take 90%? Su Yi seemed to be completely unable to keep up with everyone's rhythm. He looked at Elder Zhou in disbelief and said with a face full of surprise, that won't do. 10% of the prenatal stones is too little. My Bawang sect can't agree. Su Yi hurriedly waved his hand. Then he suddenly paused and looked at Elder Zhou. With a serious face, he said, Elder Zhou, how about this? My Bawang sect will take 90% of the prenatal stones and give 10% to the Jade Tripod Alchemy sect. Then, every year, the Bawang sect will take out an additional 10 one-star prenatal stones for you. If there's more, there's no room for discussion. As soon as these words were spoken, the entire place fell silent again. One could hear a pin drop. Under Su Yi's gaze, he saw Elder Zhou's head, which had been held high all this time, lower bit by bit, and look at him at the same level. That old face, on the other hand, was elongated bit by bit. It was filled with an ashen color. Veins bulged on his forehead, swollen to the size of beans. Kid, you're playing with me. Such words were squeezed out from Elder Zhou's throat. It was cold and sinister. At this point, how could he not understand that this kid was completely making fun of him? The other party was not stupid. He was pretending to be stupid. He was purely playing with him. So what if I'm playing with you? At this moment, the sneer on Su Yi's face was no longer concealed. He stood in the air and faced Elder Zhou. He said coldly, what is your Jade Tripod Alchemy sect? Do you really think that my Bawang sect is easy to bully? Not to mention 10% of the prenatal stones. My Bawang sect will not give you a single prenatal stone in this mine. As for 90%, that's even more wishful thinking. Just now, Su Yi was of course pretending to be stupid. What kind of joke was this? He wanted to take away 90% of the prenatal stones in the mine with just one sentence. Did he think that the Bawang sect was a fool? Su Yi's eyes were clear. A terrifying aura was emitted from his body without anyone noticing. Such an aura made the group of Origin Emperor Realm experts feel a trace of fear in their hearts. Kid, how dare you? How dare you tease Elder Zhou? Luo Jing quickly regained his senses and shouted at Su Yi. He had never expected that this youth would still be so arrogant in front of the Jade Tripod Alchemy sect. Ha ha, boss, good job. So that's what Master meant, ha ha. That's right. What is the Jade Tripod Alchemy sect? They actually came to my Bawang sect's territory to show off. In an instant, Handsome Su, Green Emperor, Yang Ming, and the others all laughed out loud. Only then did they realize that they had misunderstood Su Yi earlier. Seeing that Elder Zhou of the Jade Tripod Alchemy sect was being played, Handsome Su, Green Emperor, and the others all felt extremely relieved. From the beginning, The other party's arrogant attitude, coupled with his tone of giving alms, made people very unhappy. Now, they finally vented their anger. Good. Very good. The veins on Elder Zhou's forehead bulged, and his face kept twitching. He stared at Su Yi and gritted his teeth. Elder Zhou was already on the verge of flying into a rage, and his face was long. In the entire Chaos region, how many people dared to play with the Jade Tripod Alchemy sect like this? Since the words had already been torn apart, Su Yi naturally did not say anything else. His robes fluttered without wind as he slowly took a step forward. His gaze swept across all the experts of the Jade Tripod Alchemy sect, as well as Luo Jing and the Golden Spider. Let me give you a piece of advice. Get lost immediately. Otherwise, don't blame me for being impolite. When such words came out of Su Yi's mouth, his eyes were filled with killing intent, causing people to feel a chill down their spines. At some point in time, Su Yi had already held a large saber in his hand. He poured his vitality into it, swallowing and spitting it out, releasing a sharp light. I've long heard that you're arrogant enough. Seeing is better than hearing 100 times. Today I've opened my eyes. Elder Zhou said with a cold expression. They were sent here by the sect master. They originally thought that they would be able to successfully complete the mission without spending too much effort. No matter how arrogant the Bawang sect was, they couldn't offend the Jade Tripod Alchemy sect after having a great enemy like the Heavenly Dipper sect, right? Therefore, almost everyone in the Jade Tripod Alchemy sect unanimously believed that as long as they made a request, Su Yi would definitely commit it and not dare to disobey. However, the current situation was completely different from what they had imagined. I've already given you a chance. It's you who doesn't cherish it. Then wait for the consequences. Elder Zhou flicked his sleeve and said fiercely. Elder Jin, who was like a wild lion, was also furious. He continued, the Bawang sect is just waiting to be destroyed. Everyone will be killed. As soon as these words were said, Su Yi's brows suddenly raised, and his eyes widened. You want to destroy the Bawang sect, right? Very good. Then I'll leave all of your lives behind first. Killing intent shot out from his eyes, rolling layer by layer. The large saber in his hand suddenly slashed out, and a resplendent saber light was activated, brazenly charging towards the crowd opposite him. At the slightest disagreement, he drew his saber. Brat, you're courting death. Elder Zhou and Elder Jin were both furious, and their eyes widened. Once again, it was beyond their expectations that this brat actually dared to attack the people of the Jade Tripod Alchemy sect. You're the ones courting death. My Bawang sect is not a place where you can behave atrociously. Since you're here, then all of you can die. Chapter 1155. As Su Yi drew his saber and attacked, a great battle broke out between the experts of the two sides. This time, there were quite a number of people from the Jade Tripod Alchemy sect. There were a total of 6 of them. In addition to Luo Jing and the Golden Spider from the Heavenly Spider sect, there were a total of 8 Origin Emperor Realm experts. Moreover, half of these 8 people were above the 5th level of the Origin Emperor Realm. Elder Zhou and Elder Jin were both at the 8th level of the Origin Emperor Realm. A mere Bawang sect dares to challenge my Jade Tripod Alchemy sect. You're simply tired of living. Elder Zhou's expression had already changed. His figure suddenly moved and charged straight towards Su Yi, wanting to capture the youth first. Die, old thief! A vast green light split the void and directly blocked in front of Su Yi. Within the endless green light, a snake-type phantom swept fiercely and ruthlessly whipped towards Elder Zhou's head. The cultivation of the 8th level of the Demon Emperor realm instantly erupted. Demonic aura surged and rushed in all directions. The phantom snake tail moved with an aura that could tear the sky and earth apart, possessing the power to destroy mountains and seas. Such a scene caused Elder Zhou's eyes to suddenly shrink, and his heart began to tremble. 8th level of the Demon Emperor realm. How is this possible? Elder Zhou could not believe it. According to some previous intelligence, there were indeed a few beast emperors in the Bawang sect, but the strongest cultivation was only at the 5th level of the demon emperor realm. Who would have thought that a beast emperor here was actually at the 8th level of the demon emperor realm? This was too terrifying. Elder Zhou himself was at the 8th level of the origin emperor realm, but if he fought with an 8th level demon emperor realm, he would definitely be trampled. Without any time to think, Elder Zhou hurriedly stopped his forward momentum. The vitality in his body surged and quickly gathered on his arms. Then, both of his hands took up the blocking stance at the same time, facing the phantom snake tail of the Green Emperor. Bang! The two collided, and a muffled sound echoed. Accompanied by a muffled groan from Elder Zhou's throat, his body shot backwards like an arrow leaving the bow, drawing a straight line and smashing into the ground. Boom! With a loud rumble, rocks and dust flew everywhere. Elder Zhou had smashed a 2-zhang deep crater in the mountain range below. The Green Emperor is so strong now. He had already retreated to the back and did not continue to attack. Instead, he looked at the battle that had already erupted. Ever since the Green Emperor had broken through to the 8th level Demon Emperor realm, this was the first time that he had defeated an expert of the 8th level Origin Emperor realm. My Jade Tripod Alchemy clan will definitely not let you off. A moment later, a furious roar came from the deep pit. Elder Zhou flew out in ragged clothes, swaying and looking incomparably miserable. His face was full of anger. Even now, he still found it hard to believe that the Bawang sect had dared to attack them so heavily. You're still spouting nonsense at this time. Do you really think that the Jade Tripod Alchemy clan can protect you? The Green Emperor sneered as if he had already planned this. The moment Elder Zhou flew out of the pit, his figure flashed again and brazenly struck out with his palm. Boundless green light shot out and directly pressed down on Elder Zhou's head. Puff! The sound of vomiting blood rang out. Elder Zhou was ruthlessly slapped back into the deep pit by this palm. Another huge shock occurred between the mountain ranges. This time, it was unknown how much the hole had sunk this time. So strong. Seeing this scene, Su Yi's eyelids twitched. He was shocked by the Green Emperor's strength. This was an absolute crushing posture, and Elder Zhou could not resist at all. In fact, it was not only the Green Emperor who had such a domineering posture. On the other side, Yin Ming and Yang Ming were also peerlessly powerful, causing Su Yi's eyes to tremble. At this moment, Yin Ming, who was dressed in a black dress, gently twisted her waist and was fighting with Elder Jin, who was also at the 8th level of the Origin Emperor realm. Demonic aura surged around her body, and black fog filled the air. It transformed into a sharp black longsword and slashed horizontally in the void. After a few exchanges, it left a few bone-deep wounds on Elder Jin's chest, causing him to be seriously injured. On Yang Ming's side, he blocked Luo Jing and Golden Spider at the same time. Fighting 1 against 2, he also occupied an absolute crushing position. Under the suppression of these two, the 3 Origin Emperor Realm experts could not even escape. Kill! On the other side, the spirit-devouring Emperor blocked the remaining 4 Jade Tripod Alchemy clan experts alone. These 4 people's cultivation bases were all below the 5th level of the Origin Emperor realm. They were not considered strong. With his strength alone, it might not be easy to kill all of them in a short period of time. However, it was still very easy to stop them and prevent them from escaping. In fact, the ones who were the most terrified were Luo Jing and Golden Spider. No matter what, they could not understand. The last time they came here to fight with the Bawang sect, these beast emperors were only at the 5th level of the Demon Emperor realm. It had only been a short while, but 3 8th level beast emperors had appeared. The spirit-devouring emperor had also reached the peak of the 6th level of the Demon Emperor realm. Such a transformation was too terrifying, beyond their imagination. Boss, I'll go first. On Su Yi's shoulder, Su Xiaoshuai's eyes flickered for a while before he suddenly spoke. Go and help them. Let's end this quickly. Su Yi nodded and said. Then, Su Xiaoshuai flew away. However, The direction he went made Su-yi stare at him. He did not go to the spirit-devouring emperor to help him quickly take down the 4 people of the Jade Tripod sect. Instead, he plunged into the distant mountain range. Under Su-yi's stunned gaze, after a short while, he saw Su Xiaoshui fly back with a big bird in his 2 claws. It was the mount of the Jade Tripod sect and the others. Hee, boss, I'm going to help the spirit-devouring emperor. Roast meat for me later. Su Xiaoshui grabbed the big bird that did not dare to move and threw it in front of Su-yi. Then, he directly entered the battlefield. Su-yi could only smile bitterly at this. With the addition of Su Xiaoshui, the 5 emperors of the Bawang sect faced the 8 people of the Jade Tripod sect. There was no pressure at all. The Green Emperor stood guard outside the pit. Streaks and streaks of green light shot out, suppressing Elder Zhou until there was no more movement coming from the pit. Old thing, you're finally obedient now. The Green Emperor barged into the pit and pulled out a soft figure. At this moment, Elder Zhou looked like he was on the verge of death. His entire body was covered in blood, and his clothes were tattered. His face was dispirited, and he no longer had the arrogant and overbearing appearance from before. Kneel! Almost at the same time, Yang Ming directly captured Luo Jing and the Golden Spider and threw them in front of Su-yi. He also knew that the Dragon Rhinoceros Emperor had been poisoned by the Golden Spider, so it was necessary to keep these 2 alive. Master, how should we deal with this old thing? Yiming also carried Elder Jin, who was covered in wounds, and landed in front of Su-yi and asked, "Of course, we'll kill him directly." Before Su-yi could speak, Su Xiaoshui's voice was heard. The remaining 4 Jade Tripod sect origin emperors were completely unable to resist in the hands of him and the spirit-devouring emperor. The 4 of them were instantly severely injured. Su-yi flapped his wings. A terrifying force was brewing, preparing to kill all 4 of them. "You can't kill us." Elder Zhou, Elder Jin, Luo Jing, Golden Spider, and the rest of the 8 were all crestfallen. It was only now that they understood that the Overlord sect was truly ferocious. They did not put any other powers in their eyes at all. Only now did they truly believe that Su-yi really dared to kill them. Wait. Seeing that Su Xiaoshui was about to make a move, Su-yi stopped him in time. And this voice was like the sound of nature in the ears of Elder Zhou and the others. "Why are we still keeping these people?" Su Xiaoshui asked in confusion, but he still stopped what he was doing. "Let's keep them alive first. They might be of some use. After all, these 6 people have the identity of the Jade Tripod sect." Su-yi suddenly changed his mind and did not intend to kill these people. He said, "Seal all of their cultivation and throw them into the mine-to-mine for prenatal stones first." "Yes, master." Green Emperor and the others nodded in agreement. Then, without any delay, they directly landed restrictions on Elder Zhou, Elder Jin, and the others. Then, they brought the 8 people of the Jade Tripod sect into the mine like they were carrying little chicks. As for Luo Jing and the Golden Spider, they were still pressed in front of Su-yi by Yang Ming. They did not have the slightest ability to resist. "You're the sect master of the Heavenly Spider sect, right?" Su-yi gently walked to the side of the 2 of them. My lord, it's my fault. I shouldn't have." Luo Jing was completely terrified. Only now did he truly see Su-yi's fierce side. He could not help but immediately open his mouth in a trembling voice, wanting to beg for mercy. However, his words were only halfway through when he abruptly stopped. Su-yi suddenly waved his palm, carrying a boundless blazing aura. Flames shot out like a red-hot iron palm. It directly imprinted on Luo Jing's head. With a bang, the head of the 7th-level Origin Emperor Realm expert exploded, turning into a cloud of blood mist. Su-yi waved his sleeve lightly and dispersed the blood mist. Luo Jing. When the Golden Spider saw this scene, he immediately cried out in alarm and was stunned on the spot. Immediately, endless grief surged on his face and tears brewed in his eyes. A 5th-level Demon Emperor Realm expert actually cried just like that. This made Su-yi extremely surprised. "Since you've done some things, You have to pay the price. Su Yi said indifferently. If Luo Jing did not go to the Jade Tripod sect to deal with the Bawang sect, he would still consider subduing him and merging the Heavenly Spider sect into the Bawang sect. But now, Su Yi only wanted to kill him. As for you, Su Yi's eyes were clear as he stared at the golden spider and said indifferently, "Seeing that you're a demon, I'll give you a chance to live. Hand over the antidote to the sky demon poison and submit to me. I'll spare you from death." He just stared at the golden spider, waiting for his answer. "Human, you want me to submit? Don't even think about it." The golden spider gritted his teeth hatefully. His face was filled with unconcealable grief. Luo Jing's death made him extremely sad. Chapter 1156. To Golden Spider, Luo Jing was both a benefactor and a relative. He led the Heaven Fiend Poisonous Spider Clan and established the Celestial Spider sect with Luo Jing. After decades of operation, it finally became a third-rate force. Unexpectedly, all of this began to change after meeting the Bawang sect. Seeing Luo Jing die at the hands of Su Yi, Golden Spider could not submit to this young man no matter what. There was only hatred in his heart. "Are you so loyal?" Su Yi did not know the relationship between Luo Jing and Golden Spider, nor did he want to know. He only smiled coldly and said, "Only death awaits those who refuse to submit." After saying that, he turned around and rushed toward the mine. At the same time, he motioned for Yang Ming to take Golden Spider with him. "Kid, is it done?" Su Yi returned to the main hall of the cave, where Merciless West was cultivating. He naturally sensed what had happened outside, but he did not make a move because the Green Emperor, Yang Ming, and Yi Ming were now terrifyingly powerful. "Big brother, I'll leave Golden Spider to you." Under Su Yi's instructions, Yang Ming threw Golden Spider on ground. The Heaven Fiend poison in the Dragon Rhino Emperor had not been cured yet and was temporarily suppressed by Merciless West's elixir. However, now that Golden Spider was captured, Merciless West could definitely refine the antidote with his ability. A Heaven Fiend Poisonous Spider at the 5th level Demon Emperor stage. How rare. After seeing Golden Spider, Merciless West's eyes lit up and said, "Kid, don't worry. As long as we get his blood essence, we can refine the antidote. Moreover, the demonic core in the Sky Fiend Poisonous Spider is a rare treasure that is of great use to Feng Qi." "Oh." Su Yi raised an eyebrow, but he wasn't too surprised. The Heaven Fiend Poisonous Spider was known for its intense poison, and Feng Qi had the Calamity Qi Poison Soul, which was also highly toxic. If Golden Spider's demon core was refined, it would probably benefit Feng Qi a lot. "I'll immediately prepare to refine the pill." Merciless West suddenly became excited. The Golden Spider's demonic core was not an ordinary item. It was a rare benefit. As for refining Dawn, it was not a difficult task. As long as he obtained the blood essence of the Golden Spider and supplemented it with other Dawn, it would be very simple. Su Yi nodded. Without saying anything else, he went to find a place to cultivate. He had been cultivating the 3rd style of 8 Desolation Wrath, 9 Extinction Heaven, shaking heaven and earth. However, he had yet to truly master it. The requirements for this move were extremely high. It required the power of 9 footprints to continuously stack until the final step had the power to shake the universe. However, Su Yi could only roughly execute 9 kicks at the moment. His coordination was still lacking. In addition, Su Yi didn't give up on the cultivation of Yuan Yang Heavenly Bone. There were only dozens of bones left to be tempered. However, this process was very slow. It would take more than half a year, even if he went all out without stopping. Time passed quickly. Su Yi had been cultivating for 7 days. He had made some progress in the 9 Extinction Heaven, shaking heaven and earth, and was much more proficient in it. While practicing martial arts, Su Yi also completed another piece of the Yuan Yang Heavenly Bone. Huff, huff, huff. Just as this piece of Yuan Yang Heavenly Bone was officially completed, a storm suddenly appeared in the mysterious space. Divine light filled the sky. It was as if a deity had descended to earth. Waves of pressure and momentum were impressive. Su Yi's body began to swirl with boundless power. Layers of demonic but not evil aura rolled out, causing the entire space to tremble. Kaboom! A bolt of lightning suddenly struck down from the sky. The roars of dragons, tigers, birds, and turtles could be heard in the void, releasing a monstrous aura. At the same time, the four elemental powers of earth, fire, water, and wind were boiling around Su Yi. It was a magnificent sight. In the midst of this, the primordial chi on Su Yi's body began to fluctuate wildly. The great void divine sea in his body surged with monstrous waves, shaking the 9 heavens. This kid is actually going to break through again. The blood jasper spirit ginseng came out from the spiritual herb field and said in shock. Until now, Su Yi's cultivation had far surpassed him. This was quite a blow to the blood jasper spirit ginseng. I've been staying in this space, but I still can't beat this kid. The blood jasper spirit ginseng smiled bitterly. He did not know how long it would take for him to break through to the demon emperor realm. However, there was one thing he was sure of. Su Yi would probably be able to reach the origin emperor realm soon. The blood jasper spirit ginseng felt helpless, but his eyes were still looking at the scene in the distance in shock. The vast aura was still growing rapidly, wrapping Su Yi's figure in it. The momentum in the mysterious space was vast, and it lasted for nearly a day. After this day, the scene slowly dissipated, and Su Yi's figure appeared. Swoosh! 2 pairs of clear eyes suddenly opened, turning into a sharp light that seemed to have materialized. Su Yi let out a long breath and suppressed all the chi in his body. The strength of the 6th level of the Origin Void stage is still far from enough. Su Yi sat cross-legged and felt the breakthrough in his cultivation. He muttered to himself, but there was not much joy on his face. The enemies he was facing now were too powerful. Not to mention the distant Holy Mountain, just in the Chaos region alone, there was a second-rate force like the Heavenly Dipper sect. And a few days ago, they had captured all 6 people from the Jade Tripod Alchemy sect. The Jade Tripod Alchemy sect would definitely not give up just like that. In addition, there were also some hidden enemies, such as the first-rate force, the Blood Sun sect. These were all problems that Su Yi needed to face. With the Bawang sect's current strength, it was not enough to fight head-on with second-rate forces like the Heavenly Dipper sect and the Jade Tripod sect. Once the experts of those forces appeared, it would be absolutely troublesome. Perhaps if they hid in the illusory spirit world, the Heavenly Dipper sect and the Jade Tripod sect would not be able to do anything to them. Even if the other party had experts with a foundation, they would be able to barely block them. However, if the Bawang sect wanted to rise, they could not treat the illusory spirit world as a paradise and hide in it forever. In the end, the improvement of one's strength was the most important thing. Let's go out and take a look at the situation first. Su Yi suddenly withdrew all his thoughts and stopped thinking about it. He stood up and walked out of the mysterious space and found his big brother, Merciless West, and the others. Su Yi. The moment Su Yi stepped into the hall, a beautiful figure stood up happily. It was Feng Qi. Kid, you broke through again? Merciless West, Green Emperor, and the others' eyes narrowed as they looked at Su Yi and asked in surprise. I've left the vast spirit realm for so long, but I've only broken through 1 level. Su Yi shook his head, not caring about such a result. After breaking through several levels on the Nirvana Dragon platform, Su Yi had been consolidating his cultivation during this period of time. It was only recently that he broke through another level. You brat. Merciless West rolled her eyes at Su Yi in annoyance. This brat's cultivation speed was simply flying. In comparison, the outstanding disciples of those first-rate factions were nothing at all. Has the antidote for the Heaven Sha poison been refined? Su Yi looked at Merciless West and asked. Don't worry. It has been refined and sent to the sect. It has been given to the dragon Rhinoceros Emperor to consume. I also brought this little girl over. I used the Golden Spider's demon core as the main material to refine a Heaven Sha soul fusion pill. I want to use your space to help her make more breakthroughs. Merciless West's eyes lit up like stars as she said to Sui, Heaven Sha Soul Fusion Pill. Sui paused. After he found the information about the Heaven Sha Soul Fusion Pill in his mind, he felt a chill run down his spine. The Heaven Sha Soul Fusion Pill was a type of poison pill. Its effect was countless times more terrifying than the bone-devouring pill. After consuming the Heaven Sha Soul Fusion Pill, no one could make the antidote according to its medicinal properties unless the person refining the pill did it personally. Without the antidote, the person who consumed the pill would not die quickly. Instead, their soul would gradually be devoured by the Heaven Sha Qi, and they would lose their intelligence. Under the control of the terrifying Heaven Sha Qi, their physical body would only be left with the instinct to kill. When there was no one to kill, the person who consumed the pill would unintentionally kill himself. It was like a death by 1,000 cuts, cutting off his own flesh piece by piece. Sui felt his scalp go numb when he heard the contents of a letter. Most people were willing to spend a lot of effort to refine this heavenly fiend soul fusion pill. Normally, it was for the person they hated the most. They wanted the other party to be controlled by the heavenly fiend Qi and die a horrible death. Through this, they could obtain the pleasure of revenge. Sui did not expect that his brother, Merciless West, would be able to refine such a pill. It was truly shocking. The Heaven Sha Soul Fusion Pill is a highly toxic item to most people. Just hearing its name would make one's scalp go numb. But for this little girl, it's a rare treasure. Merciless West knew what Sui was thinking. He could not help but say to him, this girl's calamity Qi and poison soul have been controlled. The cultivation method I gave her is enough for her to continue cultivating. She may even become a powerful person in this world. However, although the quality of her soul is very high, there are not many treasures that are truly suitable for her. This Heaven Sha Soul Fusion Pill, on the other hand, has an extremely strong tempering effect on her soul. With the help of that mysterious space of yours, she will definitely be able to improve greatly. If that's the case, our Bawang sect is going to have another powerful soul controller. Hearing Merciless West's words, Sui understood in his heart. At the same time, he was extremely happy. Feng Qi had been trapped by the calamity Qi and poison soul. Not long ago, under Merciless West's guidance, she was able to completely control it. Moreover, she had been making breakthroughs and was about to reach the Yuanjin realm. According to his brother, if she improved greatly again, then the Bawang sect would have another powerful soul controller. Sui felt happy just thinking about it. That's right. Chapter 11:57. Transform it into a treasure. Sui was stunned. That was too strange. However, he did not think too much about it. After all, he knew nothing about alchemy and equipment refinement. You'll know when the time comes. Merciless West smirked and said, but I won't force her. As for whether she can succeed or not, it all depends on her luck. As he spoke, he looked at Feng Qi with the pill bottle in his hand and asked, little girl, you should know the effects of the Heaven Demon Soul Fusion Pill. Do you dare take it? Feng Qi replied without hesitation. As long as I have the chance to improve my strength and repay you for giving me a new life, Feng Qi has nothing to fear. Her words were clear as she reached out her slender hand and took the pill from Merciless West's hand. Sui looked at this scene and felt a strange sense of absent-mindedness. When he first met Feng Qi, she was just a little girl with no friends. She hid many things in her heart and did not know who to share them with. But now, there was a huge change in her temperament. Her every movement revealed an otherworldly charm. Very good. Merciless West smiled and nodded in satisfaction. Since the first time he met Feng Qi, he had taken a fancy to her poison soul talent and wanted to nurture her. Now that he saw the changes in the girl, Merciless West was gratified. Then let's not delay any longer. I also want to see what kind of power this calamity aura poison soul talent has. Sui said impatiently. After instructing the Green Emperor and the others. He brought Merciless West and Feng Chi into the mysterious space again. Feng Chi sat cross-legged on an open space and entered a state of cultivation. He looked at her quietly. He saw wisps of black gas rising from the girl's body. Even the slightest bit of it was enough to make one's soul feel uncomfortable. And this was under the circumstance that Su Yi's soul force was exceptionally terrifying. If it had been an ordinary person, this poisonous gas would have been enough to cause severe pain to their soul. It was even possible that they would have been directly wiped out. After consuming the Heaven Fiend Soul Fusion Pill, Feng Chi's aura changed again. In the terrifying black gas around her, a black shadow seemed to appear, entangling her soul force like a devil, wanting to devour her soul force. However, Feng Chi channeled her primal chi and combined it with the cultivation method taught by Merciless West to fight the black devil shadow. Both of them wanted to suppress the other and devour it. That's the remnant soul power of the golden spider. It has an instinctive consciousness that is affected by the baleful aura. Looking at the demon, Merciless West said, "Big brother, Feng Chi's cultivation is still not that strong. Can she really withstand the effects of the Heaven Fiend Soul Fusion Pill?" He said worriedly as he looked at Feng Chi's condition. He could clearly see that the power of the Heaven Fiend Soul Fusion Pill was far stronger than Feng Chi's. Strictly speaking, the Heaven Fiend Soul Fusion Pill was almost at the level of a yellow-grade elixir. Ordinary Origin Emperors would not be able to withstand its terrifying toxicity, not to mention Feng Chi, who is not even at the Yuanjin realm. Don't worry, she can definitely do it. She can even successfully cultivate the cultivation method passed down in our sect and control the calamity aura and poisonous soul. This is a small matter, Merciless West said in a deep voice, but there were ripples in his eyes as he was a little worried. Merciless West had a certain degree of confidence in refining such an elixir for Feng Chi to consume. The two of them did not say much as they stared at Feng Chi without blinking. Powerful soul force fluctuations and the spreading of the poisonous gas caused the surrounding space to seem to be dyed with a layer of black. The black devil shadow kept pouncing on Feng Chi, baring its fangs and brandishing its claws. It let out a soundless howl as it tried to devour her. The devil shadow waved its claws, and the sharp claws tore the black gas around Feng Chi into pieces again and again. However, Feng Chi did not give up. The black gas condensed again and again, turning into a thick fog as it tried to envelop the devil shadow and refine it. This was a tug-of-war that had been going on for a long time. He watched from the side and could feel the immense danger in it. However, he was also surprised to find that Feng Chi was actually able to resist the devil shadow. Although she did not have the upper hand for a while, there was a lot of sweat on her forehead. Is the calamity aura and poisonous soul that powerful? He was extremely shocked and could not believe that Feng Chi could do this. He only felt that if he had consumed the Heaven Fiend Soul Fusion Pill before reaching the Yuanjin realm, would his soul force be torn to pieces by the devil shadow? Apart from her, there are probably not many people in this world who can resist the Heaven Fiend Soul Fusion Pill with such cultivation. Merciless West lamented. However, at the same time, he unconsciously glanced at Su-Yi, thinking that perhaps this kid could do the same. Su-Yi did not notice this as he was still staring straight at Feng Chi. As time passed, it could be clearly seen that the black fog around Feng Chi's body continued to be emitted, enveloping the devil shadow layer after layer. Under such a great consumption, the devil shadow seemed to be weakening, until a certain moment, when the devil shadow weakened again, the black fog around Feng Chi's body suddenly surged out, trapping the devil's shadow in an absolutely powerful manner. Roar! Su-Yi and Merciless West could clearly hear the devil's roars and roars with their soul perception, which contained an absolutely ruthless aura. The black fog around Feng Chi's body was constantly fluctuating as if it was suffering from a great impact. "You must hang in there," Merciless West's eyes shone brightly as he unconsciously clenched his fists, secretly cheering for Feng Qi. Su-yi also felt nervous as he looked ahead without moving. After a long time, they gradually saw that the fluctuations were getting smaller and smaller, while Feng Qi's black fog was still intact, which made them feel slightly more relaxed. Is she going to succeed? Su-yi muttered. He only felt that the process after Feng Qi swallowed the Heaven Fiend Soul Fusion pill was a little too thrilling. It's still too early to succeed, but the situation should be stabilized. The main thing now is to grind. As long as this little girl doesn't rush and takes it step by step, there won't be a big problem. Shi Wuqing heaved a sigh of relief and said with a relaxed expression on his face. Su-yi also smiled when he saw this. Big brother, you still haven't told me what the magical use of this giant soul stone is. Suddenly, Su-yi changed the topic and looked at a place in the mysterious space. There was a lustrous green stone standing quietly on the ground. That's a good thing. Hearing Su-yi's question, Merciless West also retracted his gaze from Feng Qi. He and Su-yi flew out together and landed next to the lustrous green stone. This stone was found when they plundered the 7-Star Sword School's primordial stone mine. At that time, Su-yi looked at it and immediately fell into an extremely realistic illusion, almost falling down. If one touched it with their primordial chi or body, the power in the giant soul stone would enter one's body and cause a huge impact on one's soul. Big brother, didn't you say that this thing has magical uses? What is it? Su-yi asked curiously. The giant soul stone had been in the mysterious space for a long time, and he had not studied it properly. Merciless West was not in a hurry to answer Su-yi. Instead, he sat down in front of the giant soul stone. Since Feng Qi's situation had almost stabilized, he did not need to worry about her. Therefore, Merciless West looked at Su-yi indifferently and asked, Kid, have you studied the soul manipulation killing talisman and the soul control rune shield? The soul manipulation killing talisman and the soul control rune shield. Of course, Su-yi knew about these two things. At the auction in Zhongzhou City, the Sacred Mountain bought a soul manipulation killing talisman and later used it to deal with him in the St. Martial secret world. Fortunately, before that, the Spirit Treasures Pavilion gave him a soul control rune shield, which blocked the soul manipulation killing talisman. Otherwise, he would have died. I haven't studied these two things in depth. I only read about them in the Palace of Drive, so I don't know much. Su-yi also sat down and said to Merciless West. Speaking of interests, Su-yi was much more interested in the Phantom Spirit world than the soul manipulation killing talisman and the soul control rune shield. Therefore, even if he had the time, he would rather study the Phantom Spirit world. After all, the soul manipulation killing talisman and the soul control rune shield were not very useful to true powerhouses. However, they were very useful to the young disciples of the major forces when they went out to train. The soul manipulation killing talisman and the soul control rune shield are also the means of soul manipulation masters. They can condense the power of remnant souls and seal them. When used, they can be activated by Yuan Qi. They can erupt with great power or form a strong defense. Merciless West said softly, The greatest use of the giant soul stone is when refining the soul manipulation killing talisman and the soul control rune shield. As he spoke, Merciless West took out a space bag, took out some things, and placed them on the ground. There are not many kinds of things, only a few, but Su-yi saw through them at a glance. These are the materials for refining the soul manipulation killing talisman and the soul control rune shield. He saw some palm-sized things with flowing lights. Their shapes were similar to the soul manipulation killing talisman, but they did not emit the dangerous aura of the soul manipulation killing talisman. Yes, the soul manipulation killing talisman and the soul control rune shield are not very useful to true powerhouses. However, at a critical moment, they may be life-saving items. Merciless West picked up an item from the ground and put in his hand. He said lightly, Therefore, you can prepare some of these things in case you need them. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.